A young child, full of joy, is presented alongside a gray-haired boy, a silver-haired girl, and a majestic white wolf, hinting at a grand adventure of reincarnation and divine apostles beginning at the age of 8. A joyful young girl rides atop a powerful white wolf as they run forward, introducing the start of the series, Reincarnation Life of the Apostles of the Gods, starting at age 8. The contents are presented, detailing the start of the story. Chapter 1 is titled The Sage Died and begins on page 3. Following this is Chapter 2, The Hero's Academy, starting on page 63. The third chapter, The World of Gods, begins on page 103. A group of masked attackers engages in battle in a forest clearing, where one figure in red stands ready against them while another lies defeated. Meanwhile, a man in armor faces off against other armored combatants. In a burst of power, a young boy unleashes a fiery attack, striking a skull-masked warrior. Below, amidst the chaos, one of the skull-masked figures questions someone on the ground, "Who are you?" As a man in red observes the scene, the series title is revealed, Reincarnation Life of the Apostles of the Gods, starting at age 8. The clash of steel rings out as armored men fight. Elsewhere, a young boy and a girl are cornered by several masked attackers in a wooded area. The boy, glowing with power, leaps into action, delivering a powerful kick that sends one of the masked figures crashing down. As a fallen assailant demands to know who they are, the boy and his companions turn their attention to a new, imposing presence. A young boy looking directly ahead with a confident smile states that he's just an 8-year-old passing through. Behind him, a man with glasses runs forward, sword drawn, while a girl in a witch's hat stands ready with her own blade. A defeated figure lies on the ground as the battle continues around them. This chapter is titled The Sage Has Died. The young boy, radiating a faint glow, announces with a smile that he's just an 8-year-old passing through. Behind him, the man with glasses and the girl with the witch's hat are engaged in the all-knowing battle, with a defeated figure lying on the ground. This chapter is titled The Sage Has Died. A flashback to 100 years ago begins. In a ruined area, someone calls out to Master Elphath, urging him to hold on and commenting on his expression. A dragon-like creature holds a man, lamenting that his bleeding won't stop. Another character is told to hurry with healing magic, and questions arise about whether the beast of calamity was defeated and if there's any sign of revival. The injured older man, Master Elphath, states that protecting someone like him is a matter of age order. This page contains no new story content. The story jumps back 100 years. Master Elphath is gravely injured and bleeding heavily, held by a dragon-like creature, while someone tells him this is what they must do as the oldest. In a ruined landscape, a group of younger figures, including a boy, a girl, and a wolf, are gathered. One calls out to Master Adelphus, urging him to hold on, while another tells Dian to hurry and use healing magic, acknowledging Master's protection. A hand channels magic, and questions are asked about whether the Calamity Beast was defeated and if it shows any signs of reviving. A man declares that thanks to another's magic, their target's existence has been completely obliterated. Meanwhile, a young man with glasses tells someone they should be able to use a certain magic now, having seen it. Another character laughs, noting that this magic hasn't been taught to them yet, and that it was an improvised spell cast in the spur of the moment. The young man with glasses protests, calling the suggestion absurd. Murta the sorcerer, crying, speaks of someone whose talent will surpass his own through their own studies. Zenobia the warrior, also crying, is introduced as a child who hated ghosts but grew up to be a warrior praised as a sword saint. Dian the healer, depicted as a dragon, is described as having become such a good healer that he is called a chosen of the water god. Regina the hero, crying, is noted as still being a crybaby even though she has become strong enough to be considered a battle-hardened hero. The dragon, like Dian, reassures his disciples, including a distressed Regina, that they are capable of standing on their own now and will continue to have an active role in the world. As the master figure lies dying, he reflects that he was blessed with a good place and time to die, concluding it was a really good life. Adelphus Formus is addressed from above, praised for having done well. Meanwhile, another figure, who identifies herself as a beautiful and compassionate goddess, calls out, asking who is there and where they are. A divine being acknowledges the dying master's past deeds, recognizing his contributions to humanity and accepting him as a fellow deity for having driven off a calamity beast when he was still human. The master, reflecting on his 120 years, states he raised his disciples as his own children and has no regrets. The divine being then asks if he has any unfinished business or regrets from his human life. Meanwhile, one of the disciples reacts with surprise, questioning if the calamity beast was truly driven off as he thought it had been finished. The man reacts with shock, realizing that the calamity beast, being like a deity, would not die easily. Meanwhile, another figure questions if their sacrifice was meaningless, before marveling that a human was even able to fight against such a being. The calamity beast is confirmed to be alive but slumbering, with plans for the future contingent on someone becoming a god. A figure recalls dedicating their life to defeating the Calamity Beast, an enemy of humanity that acts on its own will. In the present, a man is vexed by this revelation. Meanwhile, a young figure rushes forward, finally addressing a powerful entity they perceive as either a goddess or a demon, stating they have a request. A man, driven by a fierce desire to defeat the Calamity Beast, declares he will become a god if that is what it takes. A beautiful, radiant goddess asks him if he is interested in becoming a god. The goddess acknowledges the request, mentioning there are restrictions. She reveals the Calamity Beast is a former god who fell from grace, retaining immense power despite becoming a cursed beast. He explains that a direct clash of divine power would destroy the world, and thus deities rely on humans or other beings to act on their behalf. The dragon-like figure confirms that one of his disciples was a chosen of the water god. A radiant goddess corrects him, revealing that all of his disciples were chosen by gods, and she herself is the one who has taken a liking to him. The young man with glasses, revealed as the chosen of the magic god, is shocked to learn that all his fellow disciples were favored by deities. Page identifies other disciples as the chosen of the Holy Spirit and the chosen of the sword god. The goddess tells the man that it is acceptable for him to reincarnate as a human rather than become a god. She then coyly adds that, to put it simply, there are them. The man asks what they are, and the goddess states that there are 3 conditions. The goddess lays out the conditions for the man's path, stating he must first avoid unjust deeds that deviate from the god's will, and second, he will become a god after this life ends. She then adds a 3rd condition, framed as parental love. Eager to grow stronger, the man declares he will accept any challenge, as he must train among the gods before reincarnating if he hopes to defeat the calamity beast. The goddess explains that time flows differently in her realm, and until it's time for the protagonist to reincarnate, she will help raise his potential as high as possible. She then recounts how, after that, she trained with the gods day and night for such a long time that she felt like she was going to lose her mind. Then, 100 years have passed. A young boy named Wilvormus stands, identified as a descendant of a distant relative from Adelphus's previous life. The goddess tells the young man he needs to conduct himself with behavior befitting an apostle, and he thinks he understands. He recalls that just a few days ago, on his 8th birthday, the memories of his previous life return to him. While cleaning, he decides he should train, realizing the methods he was taught will be useful after reincarnation. He believes that by training now, he can ensure he'll be in his prime when the calamity beast eventually resurrects, as his training with the gods has already raised his potential beyond its limits. A figure is kicked with a loud BM, and his attacker scolds him, saying there's no such thing as a free meal and asking why he's slacking. Meanwhile, a young girl remarks that she's pretty sure the main house never had any children, then apologizes and vows to finish something right away. Ivan, age 12, worries that the main house's reputation will be sullied, while Dana, age 15, questions why their father took in someone so useless. A man questions a younger boy's defiant look. The boy remarks that certain people from his cousin's lineage, now part of the main family, act like big-shot nobles. Suddenly, a figure is violently kicked to the ground with a loud crash, the attacker declaring they still don't know their place. On the floor, the defeated figure hears others call for their death. Danon brutally kicks someone on the ground, prompting a desperate plea from another to stop, warning that Master Will is in danger. Meanwhile, a young girl tries to hold back an angry man who tells her not to call Danon Master. Observers comment on the violence, with one noting the lack of damage but the need to avoid further worry, while another expresses disgust and urges the beating to continue. Suddenly, Wilvormus intervenes, delivering a swift kick and declaring he will make it look like he's been beaten to satisfy the onlookers. The person being attacked tries to move back with timing and guard their cheek with magic, but is still told to get beaten up. A loud crash echoes as they are violently kicked. 2 younger observers watch, one remarking with amusement, "Ha," while the other exclaims, "Wow, just what I'd expect from my older brother." The attackers laugh as they tell someone to clean up the mess, and a loud impact is heard. A man looks on in disbelief, exclaiming that it can't be. The one who is beaten insists they are fine and not injured, though others urge Master Will to get his injuries treated. Meanwhile, someone explains that their father has been teaching them martial arts, and Will himself, despite being beaten, declares that he is not injured. A man and a woman observe someone, remarking that his parents were wonderful martial artists, and that he is just as expected from the son of Masters Kurja and Maria. Meanwhile, an adult tells a group of children to stop their manual labor, assuring them he will take over as the others have already left. Another child protests that such work is unhealthy for children. Separately, a boy calls out to Will, who is being told by a man to go rest. Will's younger sister, Sari, Wilvormus, is introduced, beaming with joy. In another scene, Sari is with a group including a woman who asks if she's been a good girl, to which she replies, of course. Meanwhile, Will pets their large fluffy dog Run, asking if the pet has also been good. Will and his younger sister Sari are acknowledged as the children of Masters Kurja and Maria. Will thanks someone for taking care of Sari, while an older man fondly remembers Kurja as a splendid man, a good leader, a man of character, and talented in magic. Another woman is interrupted as she begins to question why Kurja died, but is warned not to say anything careless, as one never knows who might be listening. Will, holding Sari, reflects on how kind their parents were. Even though they died 2 years ago, Will's father and his uncle had disputed over who would become the head of the family. Ultimately, the current head won thanks to the power of his wife's family, and Will's father was sent to a remote region. Later, his father died protecting the people from a demon, and his grave bears the inscription, "Here lies a great leader." With their home gone, Will and his sister were taken in by the main house of the Vormus family. Now that Will has regained his memories, he feels he could run away, but he cannot leave his younger sister behind. Since then, they have had no satisfying meals and have been forced to do rigorous manual labor. He wonders what his disciples would think of him right now. After he died, they formed the Council of Sages in preparation for the revival of the Calamity Beast, and they are also leading the Agency of Salvation, an organization with more authority and influence than even the king and the pope. Will inquires about meeting the members of the Council of Sages, remarking on their incredible longevity. He learns that entering the Heroes Academy and achieving excellent grades could be a way to join their ranks. The Heroes Academy is then shown to be a school created by the Council of Sages themselves, dedicated to discovering and training the next generation of heroes. An older woman informs Will that the school will cover his living expenses and allow him to live in the dormitory with his family, though the entrance exam is difficult. His younger sister Sari is shown playing with their dog Run. The woman adds that failing the Heroes Academy exam still allows one to try for the Sages or Knights Academy. Will reflects that the Sages Academy was his alma mater, a place for the super elite in his past life, but now it seems to be treated as a backup school. Will is asked if he plans to take the Heroes Academy entrance exam, with one person confidently predicting it will be easy for him, though Will himself expresses uncertainty. Elsewhere, other individuals discuss the academy, learning that age limits are flexible as growth depends on race. They also note that many applicants come from the Sages or Knights Academies, leading to a wide variation in student ages. Amen discusses how children from noble families have been sabotaged before, but for now, the situation depends on the family head's permission. His companion agrees, stating there shouldn't be any problems. It is explained that the academy is managed by the Agency of Salvation, which considers the circumstances of children like Master Will, and its authority is so great that no one would dare oppose them. As long as the participant is willing, even a child can proceed without issue. Someone realizes they need to get back to work. Elsewhere, a man conspiratorially declares he will send off an application form secretly so that no one else will find out. A large dog reassures someone that Sari is in their care. Will tells Sari to take good care of their dog Run and to be a good girl. Sari then Run wave goodbye to Will as he heads off. Since they are not being given any decent food, Will declares he needs to go hunt some birds for Saria. He then moves into a back alley, thinking it's out of view and that the castle walls are nearby. Gathering magic at his feet, he looks up at a tall wall, deeming its height suitable for his purposes. Will gathers his magic and leaps over the tall castle wall. Below, a guard stands at his post, fast asleep and oblivious to the intrusion. Will lands with a soft thud on the other side. Boys fall during a rough training session, with loud thuds and crackling energy. One boy emerges from a building, declaring that the results of their training are showing, and that he made it out unhurt. In the sky above, birds take flight. Will focuses his magic, deciding on his target and gathering his power. With a shout of fire, he unleashes a blast from his staff. A duck makes a sound as it falls, while a bird is struck by the energy and plummets from the sky. Will successfully hunts 3 birds, thinking Sari it will be happy to eat them. As he holds his catch, he hears a commotion and wonders if it involves swords. Masked attackers surge forward, their movements accompanied by whooshing sounds and cries as they engage a figure in a witch's hat. Meanwhile, a determined man draws his sword, its glinting blade ready, and declares he will not go down easily. The witch character, surrounded by magical energy and panting, prepares herself for the confrontation. A man groans, realizing they are being kept here on purpose so their enemies can finish them off. Nearby, a young witch declares that everyone will die if she doesn't heal them, but an older man urges her to leave him and run. Another observer notes that even if it's a trap, they can't leave people to die. Meanwhile, masked figures comment that their opponent doesn't look like someone who would lose to the 3 attackers, and another observer notes that their target is powerful but has no openings. The witch is urged to stay focused, with a plea for her not to worry about them and to run. It's noted that the enemies are deliberately not finishing off their targets, trapping a man and the girl. As a swift attack rushes past, the witch cries out in alarm, and a voice warns that this is not the only danger. Meanwhile, a man clashes with a masked attacker, grunting with effort. An attacker strikes from behind, eliciting a cry of pain and a whoosh sound. The man with glasses recoils, exclaiming, "Damn it." He observes that a man protected the girl, and the enemy used that opening to land an attack, likening the situation to a group of wolves hunting a bear. The knight urges the witch to run toward the royal capital to get help, stating it's their best chance for everyone's survival. He pushes her forward, despite her hesitation. The young witch dashes forward. Meanwhile, the skeleton masked attacker lunges, but a man stands firm, declaring he won't let them pass. Then, a man with glasses is warned to watch out as another skeleton attacker closes in from behind, while the young witch looks on in fear. A figure in armor falls through the air, kicked by a nimble attacker wielding a dagger. Below, the young witch and the man with glasses watch with alarm as the battle unfolds. A man offers help to a young person he doesn't recognize who is moving away. As the young person questions him, an armored figure is struck down with a loud thud. The young person then cheerfully declares they are just an 8-year-old passing through. A character in a witch's hat hesitates, but another urges them to focus solely on healing. Meanwhile, a large masked figure holds a child close, declaring they won't let any enemies pass. A young man lunges forward, declaring he will distract them. An armored figure is kicked upwards with a crash, eliciting a cry from a masked attacker as another enemy moves swiftly. A young man delivers a powerful kick to an armored opponent's face, sending him flying backward with a bam. The armored figure then crashes to the ground with a thump, while a young person sits nearby, looking worn out. A young person cries out in alarm as sounds of combat, like slashes and whacks, erupt nearby. In the forest, a stern man with glasses stands with his sword, facing a skull-masked attacker while an armored figure lies defeated on the ground. Later, the young person offers help, and the man with glasses thanks the armored figure, explaining that their actions created an opening for him. The young witch insists she is fine, though she pants heavily. A voice observes that she looks like she could use some healing herself. The young man then says now, and turns his attention elsewhere. Meanwhile, a man, clearly injured and spitting blood, declares that while he is hurt, the others need healing more than he does. Seeing this, the young witch with a look of concern asks if that's the case, and the young man replies that he will handle it. The young man, with arms outstretched, unleashes a powerful spell from within a large magic circle. Several figures are sent flying or fall to the ground, incapacitated by the blast. Below, the young witch and the man watch in stunned silence as the magic flares, exclaiming in surprise at the overwhelming power. The young man's powerful spell has ended, leaving several figures incapacitated on the ground within a large magic circle. The young witch, looking astonished, realizes her own wounds are healing. Nearby, an armored man watches the scene unfold with surprise. The young witch is astonished that the young man healed everyone without needing to touch them. A dragon-like creature tells him that with training he could achieve even greater things. The young man humbly questions how he could perform feats he believes only a chosen of the water god can accomplish. Meanwhile, the man with glasses expresses profound gratitude, stating they owe him their lives, but the young man dismisses their thanks, saying it was nothing. The man with glasses and the young witch attempt to express their deep gratitude, but the young man politely deflects their thanks. As he turns to leave, the young witch calls out, asking him to at least tell them his name. He waves goodbye, telling them there's no need and to just be careful on their way back. As the young man turns to leave, he calls back that he's not that important of a person. The young witch and the man with glasses can only wonder who that kid is. Then the young man runs off into the distance, wings suddenly appearing on his back. The young man runs through the forest, sensing he is being followed despite believing his presence was cloaked. He calls out, demanding that whoever is there show themselves. The young man, running with wings, hears a rustling sound and something moving rapidly towards him. He then encounters a wobbling slime and asks in surprise, "A slime?" This page contains translation credits and information for supporting the translator. The young man, now flying with wings, confronts the skull-masked assailant, striking with a powerful, glowing fist. Below, a chaotic battle unfolds as the young man is surrounded by multiple skull-masked figures, one of whom demands to know who he is. The young man, appearing as a boy, smiles confidently, stating that he is just an 8-year-old passing by. A man with glasses, clad in a distinctive uniform, stands sternly over a fallen blonde warrior. Beside him, a young witch grips her sword, her expression one of surprise. The text on the page speaks of a legendary magic swordsman who, after taking an arrow to the knee, retired to become a village guard, eventually becoming a legend over 10 years. An older man, Master Edelphus, is held by a dragon-like creature and another attendant, his condition worsening. He dismisses his ailment, attributing it to age, as a magic circle forms around his hand. In a separate scene, possibly a flashback to 100 years ago, a group including the young witch and the man with glasses are gathered around an unconscious Master Edelphus, with someone named Dayon using healing magic on him. Below, a hand glows with magic as questions are raised about defeating a beast of calamity and signs of revival. The master unleashes powerful magic, declaring that a dragon-like creature's existence has been thoroughly disintegrated. A younger blonde man expresses concern that the master hasn't taught him this magic yet, and that he'll be upset if the master dies before doing so. The man with glasses urges the master not to say unreasonable things, stating that since he saw the magic, he should be able to use it. The master dismisses his own display, calling it merely an improvised magic he came up with on the spot. Mage Milt cries, fearing that someone will surpass his talents. Warrior Zenobi, a child who hated ghosts and grew to be hailed as the Sword Saint, also weeps. Healer Dayon, known as the beloved son of the, appears distressed. Hero Regina, strong enough to be a hero of 100 battles, cries like a baby as usual. The young girl cries out that they still need their master, but the dragon-like creature reassures the frail master that he is on his own now and will be fine. The dragon-like creature then remarks that his disciples have grown up well and will continue to play an active role in the world. Master Edelphus, appearing at peace, reflects that it is a blessed place to die, and he has lived a very good life. ***, developing story. Synthesis ***. I'm currently focusing on distilling the essence of manga page 75 into a narrative recap. My approach is to craft an audiobook-style summary, capturing the key events and transitions, particularly as Master Edelphus appears to be nearing his end. ***, synthesizing dialogue dynamics ***. I'm piecing together the recent page dialogue. My focus is on clarifying who is speaking to whom, especially with the introduction of a divine voice and the reactions of the characters present. I'm aiming for a smooth narrative flow that reflects these interactions. ***, clarifying divine introduction. ***, I'm currently focused on integrating the appearance of the divine voice and its interaction with Edelphus and the younger character. I'm carefully noting the direct address to Edelphus Whelms, San and the younger character's startled reaction to the goddess, aiming for a clear narrative progression. A divine presence acknowledges a human's contribution, stating they repelled the beast of calamity and offering them a place among the gods. Master Edelphus, reflecting on his 120 years, and the disciples he raised declares he has no regrets and will become a god. When asked if he had any regrets, Edelphus questions the divine being, surprised by the word repel and insisting he exterminated the beast of calamity. A man questions if everything he did was pointless, while another man, speaking of the beast of calamity, states it is a pillar of God and cannot be easily destroyed. The first man exclaims in shock, and the second man remarks how amazing it is that he was able to repel them while being human. The first man grimly notes that the beast of calamity is still alive, to which the second replies that they can discuss the rest once he has become a god, adding that the beast sometimes falls asleep and will not wake for a long time. The figure reflects with intense frustration that the enemy of the human race, the one he dedicated his life to subjugating, is still alive. He clutches his head, overwhelmed by the exasperation. Meanwhile, a younger warrior calls out, "Oh, you finally called out to me," and pleads, "Listen to my request," addressing a divine presence, goddess. "No, it's fine even if you're the devil." A divine being with a halo smiles, asking Edelphus if he has finally decided to become a god. Edelphus, looking distressed, shouts that he simply wants to defeat the beast of calamity, and for that sake he will become a god. The goddess acknowledges that there are restrictions, asking for more details. She explains that a god cannot directly intervene with earth. She reveals the beast of calamity is a former god, a fallen cursed beast that still holds the power of a god. The question arises whether a god needs an intermediary creature on Earth, such as humans, to intervene. She warns that if a god's power were to hit Earth, the planet would not survive. The dragon-like creature confirms a statement. The goddess reveals that Edelphus's disciples are favored by gods, listing them as the beloved daughter of the holy god, the beloved son of the magic god, and the beloved daughter of the sword god, while also mentioning one of her own disciples was the child of the water god. Edelphus's disciple, the young man with glasses, is shocked to learn all his master's disciples were blessed by deities, but the goddess calmly states it is fine. The goddess, after a moment of hesitation and a cough, states that Edelphus should be reincarnated on Earth as a human, not a god. When the younger man asks what she means, she reveals that there are 3 conditions. The goddess states that after his second life ends, Edelphus must become a god, but he refuses, saying he won't do such a thing. She then adds that after reincarnation, he must not conduct acts that stray far from God's will. Edelphus asks what the final condition is, and the goddess calls it more of a parental affection than a condition. He declares that if he can become stronger, he will face it. The goddess then states she will have him trained in the world of gods before reincarnation, warning that without it, he won't be able to beat the beast of calamity. The goddess declares she will have him trained to his utmost limit, noting that time flows differently in the world of gods than on Earth. She then recounts spending her days training with the gods for a long time. 100 years have passed. A young boy named Will Worms, who is 8 years old, introduces himself as a distant descendant of the former Edelphus Worms. A distressed man apologizes as a young girl urges someone not to call him Master. Meanwhile, Master Danon is being told to stop his attack, as Master Will is in danger of dying. In the background, retainers observe a fight, with one remarking that they are taking no damage, but it wouldn't be good to worry their masters further, while the other cruelly tells someone to hurry up and die. A young man with orange hair is deliberately taking hits, thinking he will make it look like he was beaten up to satisfy the observers. The character prepares to defend, thinking about timing and magic, but is then violently struck with a wham and a crash. Another character, observing the impact, remarks with surprise, "Wow, just what I'd expect from my older brother," while the person delivering the blow smirks. A stern-faced man expresses disbelief as Master Will, surrounded by others, insists he is not injured, though someone urges him to get treatment. The stern-faced man then asks so to a dark-haired girl who explains her father has been teaching her martial arts. Meanwhile, Master Will winks, telling someone that even though he was beaten badly, he's not injured. 2 individuals remark that the son of Masters Kurja and Maria is expected, noting that the 2 of them were wonderful martial artists. Meanwhile, Master Will is told to go rest. Others assure that they will handle the tasks, as the other children have already left, and it's not healthy for children to do manual labor. Will's younger sister, Sari, of Ormus, is introduced. She is with a group of people, including servants, and is asked if she has been a good girl, to which she happily replies, of course. Will is then seen petting their pet dog, Run Run, and asking if Run Run has also been good. The young man reassures the maid that it's not a problem, as they are the children of Masters Kurja and Maria. He then thanks her for always taking care of Saria. Meanwhile, an older maid is stopped mid-sentence, questioned about why someone acted a certain way. Another man remarks that the person in question was a splendid man, a good leader, a man of character, and very talented at magic. The young man holding Sari reflects on the kindness shown to them, noting their parents died 2 years ago. He then apologizes, and a warning is given that one should be careful what they say, as anyone could be listening. The narration explains that the narrator's uncle and father were disputing who would become the head of the family. Ultimately, the uncle won with the power of his wife's family, and the narrator's father was sent to a remote region. The narrator then points to a tombstone. Here lies a great leader, revealing that his father died protecting people from a demon. He continues, stating that after their home was gone, they were taken in by the main house of the Vormus family. Having regained his memories, Will feels he could run away, but he cannot abandon his younger sister Saria. Since then, their meals have been unsatisfying, and he has been forced into rigorous manual labor. Meanwhile, after his death, a council of sages was formed in preparation for the revival of the Calamity Beast. This council also leads the Agency of Salvation, an organization with authorities surpassing even kings and popes. The man wonders what his disciples would think of him now. Will asks how he might go about meeting the members of the Council of Sages, while someone comments that their disciples who were 20th century ago could still be alive. The Heroes Academy is brought up as a possibility, with the suggestion that excelling there might lead to joining the Council of Sages. This academy is then revealed to be a school created by the Council of Sages to discover and train the next era of heroes. An older woman informs Will that the school will pay for his living expenses and allow him to live with his family in the dormitory, though the entrance exam is extremely difficult. Meanwhile, Sari happily plays with their dog. The woman adds that even if Will fails the Heroes Academy exam, he can still try to enter the Sages Academy or the Knights Academy. Will hears himself being called and then reflects that the Sages Academy was his alma mater, questioning if such elite places are now treated as backup schools. One person assures Will that the Heroes Academy exam will be a piece of cake, but he admits he's going to take the entrance exam and isn't sure about its difficulty. Meanwhile, others discuss the exam, explaining that there's no strict age limit because growth varies by race, mentioning examples of a 65-year-old human and a 200-year-old elf. It's also noted that many students take the exam after graduating from other academies, causing the age of current students to vary greatly. The man assures that there won't be issues with noble families getting sabotaged, while Will considers if the head of the family will grant permission. The Agency of Salvation's immense authority is highlighted, as it manages the academy and takes circumstances like Will's into consideration, ensuring no one would dare oppose them. Meanwhile, someone realizes they need to get back to work, and a man is tasked with secretly submitting an application form, assuring the others it will be kept top secret. The dog and Sari are being entrusted to someone's care. Will agrees, telling them to take good care of Sari, and run and for Sari to be a good girl. Sari and run wave goodbye to Will as he departs. Since they aren't being given any decent food, Will decides he needs to go hunt some birds for Saria. He heads into a back alley, reasoning that there shouldn't be anyone there and the castle walls will keep him out of view. Gathering magic at his feet, he looks up at a high wall, deciding its height should be sufficient. Determined to hunt birds, Will leaps over the castle wall. Jump, he exclaims as he ascends. Below, a guard stands at his post, fast asleep. Will successfully clears the wall, landing with a BIM. Several figures are knocked down with a loud impact, while another stands triumphantly, after a powerful move, accompanied by crackling energy. An observer remarks that the results of the god's training are showing. Meanwhile, a young man runs out of a building, pleased that he made it out unharmed. In the sky above, a bird flies. Will focuses, deciding on his target and controlling his power. He regulates the magic, gathering it in his thumb before firing. A blast erupts and a bird falls from the sky with a quack. Will finishes his bird hunt, noting its good training, and he has caught 3. Meanwhile, Sari and another girl are excited about eating bird meat with Sari, declaring her love for Will. After securing his catch, Will senses a commotion and hears the sound of swords. A commotion erupts as skull masked figures attack, clashing with an armored defender and Sari. As the fight intensifies, a stern-faced swordsman draws his blade, stating he won't go down easily. The attackers are keeping them trapped on purpose, intending to finish them off. As a young witch insists she must heal everyone, an older man urges her to leave them and run. Meanwhile, someone observes the unfolding events, understanding the grim situation. Elsewhere, onlookers discuss a powerful opponent, noting that while he is strong, he leaves no openings. The attackers are revealed to have many allies, with one observer noting that 9 of them are present. As the fight continues, a defender urges another to stay focused while telling them not to worry and to run. It's realized the enemy isn't finishing them off intentionally, trapping the man and the girl. Suddenly, a swift movement causes a startled cry. The situation is more complex than it seems. Meanwhile, a man clashes swords with a skull-masked attacker, who lets out a frustrated grunt. The armored defender, having protected the girl, was exploited by the enemy, who used that opening to land an attack. The man with glasses observes this grim situation, noting that the attackers are like a pack of wolves hunting a bear. He swings his weapon in frustration, exclaiming, "Damn it." The guard tells the witch-like girl to run towards the royal capital for help, insisting it's their best chance for everyone's survival. He tells her to run if she wants to save him, as he draws his sword to face the danger. A young witch dashes forward into the fray. Meanwhile, a man in uniform clashes with a skull-masked attacker, declaring he won't let him pass. As the fight intensifies, a man with glasses shouts a warning, "Watch out." A skull-masked attacker lunges forward, startling a young witch. A swift attacker, wielding a dagger, sends a cloaked, armored defender flying through the air. Meanwhile, the young witch and the man with glasses watch the unfolding chaos with wide, worried eyes. A man in glasses offers help to a young person running past, but the young person asks who he is. With a swift movement, the young person strikes a skull-masked attacker, sending them crashing down with a loud thud. The young person then casually states they are just an 8-year-old passing through. A character tells the young witch to focus on healing, but she begins to object. Meanwhile, a large skull-masked figure has grabbed the young witch, reassuring her that he won't let any enemies get through. A young man with red hair lunges forward, declaring he's there to distract them. Meanwhile, an armored defender is violently kicked, crashing down, while a skull-masked attacker watches. Another skull-masked figure then swooshes into the fight. The red-haired young man delivers a powerful kick to an opponent's head, sending them flying with a BIM. Below, the armored defender crashes to the ground with a thump, near a defeated looking, large skull, masked figure. The young character reacts with alarm to the sounds of combat. Meanwhile, a stern man with glasses stands ready with his sword, while a skull, masked attacker lies defeated nearby. The man with glasses thanks the young character, explaining that their action of throwing an enemy and sending them flying created the opening he needed. The young witch, though looking a bit worn, insists she is fine and suggests the boy might need healing himself. The boy acknowledges her, then prepares to act. Meanwhile, an injured man coughs and states that while he is hurt, others need help more than he does. Hearing this, the boy tells them to leave it to him. A young person with arms outstretched dramatically unleashes a powerful spell. Within a glowing magic circle, several figures are flung through the air as a great energy emanates. Meanwhile, a man and a young witch witness a blinding flash and react with shock and confusion. The powerful spell concludes, leaving several figures scattered and defeated on the ground. The red-haired boy stands ready, his energy still palpable, as a uniformed man gazes up in astonishment. The young witch, witnessing this, cries out in surprise as her own wounds begin to heal. Nearby, the man with glasses can only stare in disbelief. The young witch marvels that the boy healed everyone without needing to touch them. He humbly questions how he could perform such a feat, but a dragon-like figure encourages him, saying he could do it with training. The man with glasses expresses deep gratitude, stating the boy absolutely saved them, and they owe him their lives. The boy, embarrassed, dismisses their thanks, saying it was nothing. The man with glasses, along with the others, wishes to show their gratitude, but the boy humbly deflects their thanks. As he turns to leave, someone calls out, asking for his name. The boy waves them off, stating there's no need and wishing them to be careful on their way back. The boy, turning to leave, calls back that he isn't that important. The man with glasses and the young witch watch him go, pondering just who that kid could be. He then runs off into the forest, wings appearing on his back as he speeds away. The boy runs through the forest, the sound of rustling leaves all around. He senses that something is following him, which surprises him since he thought he had cloaked his presence. Stopping abruptly, he calls out, demanding that whoever is there show themselves. He runs through the forest, sensing he's being followed despite his cloaking, and calls out for the pursuer to show themselves. A large, wobbling slime then appears before him. He stares in surprise, asking if it's a slime. This page is an advertisement for mangabuddy.com and does not contain story content. The boy stands with his eyes closed, a spectral figure of similar build and attire appearing behind him, both with arms outstretched. Above them, the title declares Chapter 2, The Hero Academy, signaling the start of a new arc. The boy walks through the forest, hearing a bouncing sound. He asks aloud if it's a slime. He looks at the slime, musing that it seems to want to be his friend. The slime asks if the boy wants to come with it, and after the boy says Gawka, he tells the slime to hide in his clothes so people won't see it. The boy notes that someone is completely unnoticeable. Nearby, the slime stretches, making a sound, and the boy looks on with surprise. He muses that things might be different for an 8-year-old, then thinks it will be fine to bring a monster into the city if it's in his party as an adventurer. Arriving at a large stable, he calls out that he's home. Will visits the horse stable, asking the horses if they were good boys. He recalls that being forced to sleep there by the sons of the main house wasn't as bad as he'd expected, thanks to his friendly roommates. A woof is heard and Sari, riding on a large, fluffy dog, rushes towards him calling his name. Will, surprised, asks what's going on, reminding her that she was supposed to be resting in separate rooms with Granny. The man with glasses tells Will that Madame Sari, who wished to spend time with him today. Sari, shyly, admits she wants to be with him, and Will asks if that's okay. Later, a maid offers Will sandwiches, and he apologizes for causing trouble, but she reassures him it's no problem and that Sari, who was likely lonely. She then tells him she'll pick him up tomorrow. Sari comments that she didn't expect things to turn out this way. In the stable, Will stands among the horses, and the dog asks if something has happened. Suddenly, a fluffy white dog bursts forward, barking excitedly, causing Will to ask what's wrong. Slime suddenly pops out, startling the young man. He looks concerned, muttering about trying to hide someone but realizing Run-Run's nose couldn't be deceived. The white dog, Run-Run, is shown running with a small wobbly slime jumping from its back. Sari, seeing the slime, exclaims with delight that it's wobbly. Sari happily hugs a wobbly slime, calling it incredibly cute. Will, seeing it, identifies it as a slime and tells Sari, and not to let anyone know it's there, to which she agrees to keep it a secret. Nearby, a large winged creature prepares a meal and asks Sari if she will join them to eat. Sari, and will finish their meal with Sari, declaring it was yummy and Will pleased she enjoyed it. Sari then hugs Run-Run, noting how warm the dog is. Will offers them a blanket just in case they feel cold, and Sari playfully barks in response before Will agrees. Will asks Sari if she was scolded by Granny today, but she insists she was a good girl. Elsewhere, some men discuss sending off an application form in secret so no one else will find out, warning that it's top secret. Sari then asks Will if he is going to go somewhere far away to study. Sari expresses her worry about being separated when Will goes to the academy, but reassures him that she will always be with him. Will holds her close and asks if she will always stay a good girl, to which she replies that she always has been. Nearby, the horses offer their own affirmations, with one calling Sari a tag girl and another mentioning they helped Granny out today. 3 days later, Will remembers his previous life and has been training by cleaning toilets. He is shown diligently scrubbing the floor. Will continues his training, explaining that by performing specific arm movements and circulating magic in the opposite direction of his body's actions, He can strengthen both his muscles and his magic. He intends to apply this throughout his entire body. He's also practicing a virus barrier technique, covering his hands with a magical membrane to prevent them from touching dirt, which he notes as part of his training ordered by the sons of the main house. Suddenly, he finds the noise around him bothersome. Two men argue, one asserting that despite claims of being from the Agency of Salvation, they are in the Vormus household and should not act as if they own it. He explains that the Lord is away, and they are currently in charge of the household. Elsewhere, a maid tells Sari and another girl that Will is on the second floor cleaning the toilet, and that she doesn't need anyone's permission. A girl in formal attire, sword at her hip, appears before Will, startling him. He asks if he is Will Vormus. Later, Will confirms his identity and asks if she needs something from him. A girl from the Agency of Salvation arrives to pick Will up, informing him that the Hero Academy's entrance exam is tomorrow. She then notes that servants managed to submit his application without the main house's sons discovering it. This enrages another man, who shouts at Will for submitting his application without permission. The girl from the Agency of Salvation explains that they don't normally do this, but she came to pick Will up because she expected something to get in the way. She asks if he's only here to collect the person taking the Heroes Academy entrance exam. When Will and his companion try to get their attention, they are ignored. The girl's companion acknowledges something, and the girl decides it's time to go. Will lunges forward, shouting that they are making fun of him and won't get away with it. Will lunges forward, his fist crackling with energy, but someone grabs his arm, stopping him. He looks shocked and angry, exclaiming in disbelief, while the girl from the Agency of Salvation watches the scene. The woman from the Agency of Salvation declares that Will is opposing them if he dares to interrupt. Another observes that she skillfully stopped all of Will's magic with just one finger. Will cries out in distress and asks if he can take his little sister with him. The woman from the Agency of Salvation tells Will he can bring his slime to the Heroes Academy, and that pets and family members are allowed at the dorms. A maid announces she is going to get Madame Saria. Will expresses his thanks. Suddenly, a girl, seemingly Sari, that is being stopped, and she shouts that she wants to take the exam too. The woman who stops Sari allows her to do as she pleases, while Sari, the now in formal attire with a sword, declares that the Heroes Academy is pleased to accept any application. As Will Vormus prepares to depart, a young girl marvels at the strong horses pulling a carriage through the town. Meanwhile, a young man warns a girl to be careful. A large wolf-like creature sniffs a shy girl, telling her, "Run, run, stop that." It then adds, "Woof, it's not a bother." Meanwhile, a boy agrees, "Of course, if you're okay with it." The girl then hesitantly asks if she can pet the creature. A girl hugs a large wolf-like creature, exclaiming how big it is and recalling it wandered their garden when she was born. The boy asks if it's still growing, to which she confirms it is, even at 8 years old. The scene then shifts to a younger girl, Sari, a Vormus, who appears with a bright, happy expression. The first girl looks at Sari, then questions her. A wolf-like creature named Sari introduces itself. A girl standing with Sari asks another girl for her name. The girl Alti introduces herself, stating her full name is Alti Zenunbaling. Another girl apologizes for introducing herself late. A girl stares, her eyes wide and flustered. Another girl compliments her hair, then her eyes, causing the first girl to blush and stammer in response. Later, a boy watches as a large wolf-like creature pets a girl who shyly thanks it. At the Hero Academy's application desk, an official explains that the person who delivered the application was acting with great consideration and was also watching out for people. Meanwhile, a boy asks a girl how she knew the main house's sons would try to interfere with him taking the examination. He then expresses his concern, stating, "But I'm worried about the servants," though he is reassured that he doesn't need to worry. One character assures another that they will put pressure on the relevant parties to prevent servants from being punished for a recent incident, and that they can prove who brought the application to the academy. The other character expresses relief, saying it would have been a mess otherwise. They then announce their arrival, marveling at the large building before them, which is revealed to be the Heroes Academy. A large wolf-like creature dashes forward with a young girl, exclaiming how huge it is. Another girl announces she will show the small child where she will be staying, as the child runs ahead shouting. A boy warns the child that she will fall if she runs like that. They have arrived at the student dorms, room 401. The group arrives at the student dormitory, an accommodation facility for successful candidates. One of the older students gives a key, promising to show them the nursery later and suggesting that Sari, a Vormus, might be left there when needed. Meanwhile, the young slime character bounces excitedly on a bed, surprised by the facilities, and is reassured that students with children are also housed there. The academy's nursery teaches children by their age, with students ranging from Sari, his age, to those older. The academy houses skilled beings from all walks of life, aiming to make students' lives more comfortable than ever, showcasing the cafeteria, a training area, and dorms. One girl remarks that these efforts are very thoughtful. The Heroes Academy was built outside the imperial capital, a fact that made sense to one observer. He realized that Will had needed to pass the entrance exam for Sari, his sake, experiencing a world far different from how he had been treated at home. They arrived at the academy's nursery. A young girl, beaming with excitement, waved goodbye, wishing Will good luck. At the Hero Academy, it's confirmed that taking care of magical pets is included. One person asks if their magical pets can be left there, while another wonders if they can play with everyone. Later, as they stand in a hallway, a boy named Will is told that he doesn't seem to know much about the entrance exam. He admits his knowledge of this world is like that of an 8-year-old, or perhaps even less. He reflects that in his past life, The Hero Academy didn't exist, and at the main house, he was made to work all day, never having a chance to learn much about society. Amidst this, there's a glimpse of chaos and a harsh reminder that there's no such thing as a free meal. Two characters discuss the guardian deity's affection meter. A young boy, seemingly confused, questions the term little sage, while another explains that a technique developed by the minor sage, a member of the Council of Sages, will be used. Suddenly, a figure appears with a whoosh identified as Murdo Adel Valeri, a direct disciple of the great sage Adelcius Formus. Murdo, a man with glasses, speaks to a girl, noting that someone has surpassed their master and developed new magic without his guidance, earning a family name. Meanwhile, two girls discuss why someone is referred to as the little sage when they should simply be called the great sage. The great sage himself, Adelphus Volmus, then appears, and a girl blushes, thinking he is trying to be modest. Alti's imagination presents the concept of guardian deities, with one figure explaining that every family has one. Another thought depicts a winged being offering protection, while a third character clarifies that the patron god of most human tribes is the god governing the human race. Suddenly, a dragon, like being named Deanadel, chosen of the water god Lady Aqua, appears, noted as a famous member of the Council of Sages. The child feels embarrassed, while a young man wonders if Dean shares a family name with Murdo, or if Adele was named after him in a past life. The narrative explains that those favored by their guardian deities have higher aptitudes for corresponding abilities, and the most favored are called the gods chosen. A magic circle activates with an invitation to enter, and the person who sneezes comments that those with a human god as their guardian deity are mediocre. In a chamber decorated with large, circular magical patterns, a boy identifies a central pedestal topped with a crystal as the affection meter. A girl then instructs him to place his hand on the crystal, explaining that the device will measure him. A group of figures, including a woman with a halo and an armored man, are present. The armored man states that he was favored by many gods before. Meanwhile, a young person confident in their appeal to deities thinks that many guardian deities would love to come to them. The device then announces that it has finished measuring them. The measurement results are discussed, with one person asking what they are and another inquiring what's wrong. The device reveals that the boy's guardian deity is a human god, eliciting a surprised reaction from him. The chapter begins with the boy standing solemnly, eyes closed, while a larger, more imposing figure appears behind him, arms outstretched. This imagery seems to represent the boy's connection to his guardian deity, as the chapter title, Chapter 2, The Hero Academy, is shown. In the woods, the boy spots a slime and wonders if it wants to be his friend. He tells the slime to hide in his clothes so no one sees it, then asks if it will come with him. The slime nods in agreement. The boy notes that someone is completely undetectable. A slime creature stretches, and he muses that things might be different from an 8-year-old's perspective. He then decides it should be fine to bring a monster into the city if it's part of his adventuring party. Finally, he arrives at Vormus's household stable, announcing that he's home. The boy recalls being forced to sleep in the horse stable by the sons of the main house, but found it wasn't so bad thanks to his friendly horse roommates. In the present, he questions Saria, who is supposed to be resting in separate rooms with Granny, about what she's doing. Sari, however, is excitedly riding a large fluffy creature that barks, calling out "Run, run!" As they charge forward. The older man tells the young man that Madame Sari, who wished to spend time with him today, and the young man asks Sari if it's true. Sari, shyly, admits she wants to be with him and asks if that's okay. Later, the young man offers sandwiches to another person, apologizing for causing trouble. He reassures them it's no problem, believing Sari it was lonely, and promises to pick them up tomorrow. The girl reflects that she hadn't expected things to turn out this way. Back at the stable, a dog-like creature asks the boy if something is wrong as the horses neigh. Suddenly, the creature named Run Run appears, barking excitedly, while another person asks what's happening, sniffing the air. A large, round creature suddenly pops into existence, startling the young man. He explains that he was trying to hide someone, but Run Run's nose was too sharp to be fooled. A young girl exclaims that something is wobbly, while another girl and a slime creature look on in surprise. The girl squeals with delight over a cute slime, hugging it tightly and promising to keep it a secret. The boy identifies the creature as a slime and warns her to keep its presence hidden. Later, a bird-like creature is ready for a meal, and someone calls out to Sari, asking if she will join them to eat. The young man is glad Run Run enjoyed the meal. He then offers the wolf-like creature and the girl a blanket, just in case they feel cold. The girl hugs Run Run, noting how warm it is, and Run Run responds with a woof. The boy asks Sari if she's alright and if Granny scolded her, but he insists she was a good girl. Later, Sari has asked if she plans to go somewhere far away to study. Meanwhile, a group of people are discussing a top-secret application form, planning to send it off without anyone finding out, noting that Sari is making a scary face and has apparently overheard everything. Sari, peeking from behind a blanket, asks if she and Run Run will be alright, but reassures someone that she'll always be with them even if she goes to the academy. The young man holds her close and asks if she'll always be a good girl when he goes there. Meanwhile, a wolf-like creature assures them it has always been a good one, and the horses in the stable comment that Sari isn't a Thai girl and that they themselves have always been good, even helping Granny out today. 3 days later, the protagonist reflects that since remembering his previous life, he has been training by cleaning toilets. He is shown diligently scrubbing a toilet bowl with a brush, while a small slime creature looks on with a questioning expression. The protagonist trains, performing arm movements while circulating magic throughout his body to strengthen both his muscles and his magic. He explains that he must cover his hands with a magical membrane to prevent them from touching dirt, which serves as good practice for delicate magical manipulation. This training was ordered by the sons of the main house, who made him do it with his bare hands. Suddenly, he finds the surrounding noise to be quite bothersome. The protagonist is cleaning toilets on the second floor, with a slime creature watching him. Meanwhile, two men confront someone, insisting that despite claims of being from the Agency of Salvation, they are in the Vormis household and should stop acting like they own the place. A maid declares she doesn't need anyone's permission. Elsewhere, a group searches for Will Vormis, learning he is cleaning the toilet on the second floor, while a man states the Lord is away and they are managing the household. ***, processing manga flow ***. I am currently focused on understanding the narrative progression within the manga, specifically adhering to the right to left, top to bottom reading order. My aim is to distill the story's events into a compelling, narrative format. ***, observing splash pages ***. My current focus is on recognizing and differentiating splash pages from narrative content, ensuring no story details are extracted from these introductory visuals. I will confirm when actual story panels are presented for summarization. ***, skipping splash page ***. I've identified the latest image as a watermark and not actual story content. Therefore, I'm passing on summarizing it and waiting for narrative panels to appear in subsequent updates. ***, confirming watermark bypass ***. I am currently ensuring that non-narrative elements like watermarks are identified and bypassed, so I only process actual story panels for my summary. I will continue to await actual story content for summarization. A girl confronts Will Vormis, asking if he is who she seeks. He confirms and asks if she needs something from him. A girl from the Agency of Salvation arrives, announcing she's here to pick someone up and that the Hero Academy's entrance exam is scheduled for tomorrow. In another scene, a boy notes that servants successfully delivered an application, evading detection by the main house's sons. Suddenly, another boy erupts in anger, calling the girl a brat and accusing her of submitting her application without his consent. A girl arrives and asks if she's there to pick up the person taking the Hero Academy entrance exam. Her companions express surprise, noting they don't normally do this but came because they expected trouble. When one of them protests being ignored, she tells him they've got it and it's time to go. As she turns to leave with the person she's picking up, the other boy lunges forward, accusing them of making fun of him and vowing they won't get away with it. The enraged boy lunges forward, grabbing the arm of the girl sent to pick someone up for the Hero Academy entrance exam. A crackling sound accompanies the struggle as the girl and her companion react with shock. The girl from the Agency of Salvation declares that anyone who dares interrupt them is opposing her organization. Another observes that she skillfully stopped all of his magic with just one finger. The enraged boy, who had lunged forward, is shown crying intensely. He then asks the girl if he can take his little sister with him. The girl from the Agency of Salvation confirms that the boy can bring his slime along for the Hero Academy exam. Elsewhere, a maid declares she will go fetch Madame Sari. The boy expresses his thanks, and then another boy, demanding to take the exam too, lunges forward as the girl from the Agency of Salvation begins to leave with someone. After subduing the boy who lunged at her, the girl from the Agency of Salvation tells him he's free to do as he pleases. She then announces that they are pleased to accept any application for the Heroes Academy. A girl exclaims in wonder at the strength of the horses pulling a carriage. In town, a horse-drawn carriage rattles as it moves, with people around. The boy identifies someone as Will Vormis. Meanwhile, another boy warns a girl sitting nearby not to stick out her body too much as a clunking sound is heard. The large white wolf continues to sniff the girl, who looks embarrassed as a smaller boy watches. The wolf tells her to stop. Meanwhile, the boy asks if he can pet the wolf, and after the girl agrees, he eagerly asks if he can pet him. The girl hugs the large wolf, remarking how big he is, and recalls that when she was born, he wandered through their garden. The boy observes that the wolf is already 8 years old but still growing, to which the girl replies in surprise. Even now, the girl then looks on, appearing touched. Later, a younger girl asks Sari, "Vormis, why is that?" The wolf named Sari introduces herself. The girl accompanying her then asks the other girl for her name. This girl, Alti, apologizes for the late introduction and states her full name is Alti Zenonbalin. Alti is flustered as someone compliments her hair and eyes, making her blush and stammer. Meanwhile, a fluffy white dog, Sari, is being petted, and Alti thanks the person for their kindness. A boy questions how someone knew the main house's sons would interfere with his examination. Meanwhile, at the Hero Academy's application desk, an official explains that the person who delivered the application was also looking out for people and sending their regards, confirming they acted secretly. One boy then voices his concern about the servants, asking if the main house's sons would be angry with them, but he is reassured that he doesn't need to worry. This page is an advertisement for mangabuddy.com, featuring a sad frog character and text encouraging readers to find the latest chapters there. This page is an advertisement for mangabuddy.com, featuring a crying frog character with flames and the tagline "The World of Manga." The boy expresses relief, noting it would have been a mess otherwise. The girl assures him they will put pressure on the relevant parties not to punish the servants because of the incident, and they can prove who brought the application to the academy. They then announce their arrival, and a younger girl exclaims in wonder at the sight of the large building, which is revealed to be the hero's academy. The large white wolf, Seri, dashes forward with Ulti riding atop it, marveling at its immense size. Ulti announces she will show them where they will be staying. A small child races ahead with a joyful cry, while another boy cautions them that they might fall if they run so fast. Their destination is revealed to be student dorms room 401. The boy and girl explain that this accommodation facility doubles as a student dormitory where all successful candidates will stay and live together. Meanwhile, the small, chibi-like character bounces on a bed, exclaiming in surprise and asking if they have that. Another character confirms that there are students with children here as well. The boy then presents a key, saying he will show them the nursery later and suggests they might want to leave Seri. Vormis there when needed. The academy's nursery teaches children by age, with their ages ranging from Seri to older. The cafeteria serves students, and the academy aims to raise skilled beings from all walks of life. They also have a training area and dorms with the stated goal to make students' lives more comfortable. Someone finds these efforts very thoughtful. A young man notes that the hero's academy's location outside the imperial capital makes sense, and that things are different from before. He reflects that Will needed to pass the exam for Seri. And that Will experience a world of difference compared to how he was treated at home. Nearby, the sign indicates a nursery. A young girl excitedly wishes Will good luck. At the hero's academy, a child asks if they can leave their magical pets there as well, learning that taking care of them is included. Meanwhile, a young man addresses Will, noting he seems unfamiliar with the entrance exam, to which Will's companion confirms. In another area, a character reflects that in their past life, the hero's academy didn't exist, and they had no chance to learn about society due to constant work. They admit their knowledge of the world is less than that of an 8-year-old, and that there's no such thing as a free meal as someone is attacked with a cry to just die. Two characters look out a window, with one asking about the guardian deity's affection meter. Elsewhere, a young boy is asked if he is a little sage, and it's explained that a technique developed by the minor sage, a member of the Council of Sages, will be used. Suddenly, a figure moves with a whoosh, revealing themselves to be Murdo Adelvaleri, a direct disciple of the great sage Adolphus Formus. A man congratulates Murdo, noting that he has surpassed his master and developed new magic without guidance, and that he carries a family name. Two young girls observe this, with one questioning why Murdo is called the little sage when he should simply call himself the great sage. The imposing figure of Adolphus Formus, the great sage, is then revealed. A small girl comments that Murdo is merely being modest, as Adolphus Formus confirms his own identity as the great sage. Ulti's imagination depicts a winged figure, prompting a question about guardian deities. She explains that every family has one, and that while the patron god of most human tribes governs the human race, rarely are there those with protection from other deities as well. Suddenly, a dragon-like figure appears, identified as Dionadel, chosen of the water god Lady Aqua, and noted as a member of the Council of Sages. Murdo wonders if Aeon received the same family name as him, or if Adele was named after him in a past life, as a child next to him feels embarrassed. Meanwhile, a figure wielding sorcery is shown, noted as being blessed by the magic god. Another individual, favored by the sword god, demonstrates fencing ability. It is explained that those favored by their guardian deities have a higher aptitude for corresponding abilities, and are called the gods chosen. A magical circle activates with a click, and an invitation is given to enter. Someone sneezes, remarking that those with a human god as their guardian deity are mediocre. The girl identifies a device as the affection meter. She then directs the boy to place his hand on a crystal, stating that the device will measure him. A group of beings, including a regal woman, are shown. One of them recalls being favored by many gods before, and another expresses confidence that many guardian deities would love to come to them. The device finishes measuring the person it was used on. The girl asks about the results, but the boy replies it's nothing, prompting another girl to ask what's wrong. As a hand touches a glowing inscription, a voice announces that it seems the guardian deity is a. The boy reacts with surprise, huh? As the announcement is completed, human god. This page contains a website banner and no story content. The measurement revealed the boy's guardian deity to be a human god. A beautiful woman with a halo, radiating warmth, smiles down at him and gently places her hand on his head. This chapter is titled Realm of the Gods. The girl confirms that her guardian deity is human. The boy then asks if anyone has ever lost consciousness when the device is measuring them, but she replies that it's not from what she knows of. The boy murmurs, I see. A memory surfaces of figures who trained with the gods for many years before their reincarnation, confident that the gods favored them. He then reflects, they were always so friendly when they talked with me. The boy is instructed to place his hand on the crystal. Moments later, as he looks down, a dazzling effect emanates, and he seems to be experiencing a strong internal reaction. A whoosh sound effect and a view of an ornate, patterned ceiling suggest a sudden transition. The boy looks around, bewildered, and asks if this is the realm of the gods. Someone else reacts with a surprised, huh? The regal woman, identified as Adelphus, looks surprised and asks if it is indeed Adelphus. The boy replies that he goes by well now. Another person expresses gladness that he is doing okay. Below, a crowd murmurs in surprise, recognizing Adelphus and exclaiming that he has arrived. Adelphus, surprised, acknowledges Will, who corrects her, stating his name is now Will. She questions if his presence means he has died, but Will, looking at the gathered gods, asks if she, as a god, should not have foreseen this. Adelphus then asks why he has come, as the surrounding gods murmur, some claiming they also saw or understood what happened. Adelphus, enraged, snaps and shouts for someone to shut up. Meanwhile, other figures present, including a dragon, are gagged and silenced. Will then muses aloud, and a woman asks him how he managed to arrive. Adelphus asks Will if he knew humans could create such things, and he responds that she didn't. He then explains that to the gods, men are like ants, and even favoring a chosen human doesn't mean they're interested in human society. As she speaks, a hand holds an ant with a tiny figure atop it, illustrating the point. Will then tells her she's thinking about something horrible again, causing her to exclaim in embarrassment. Adelphus agrees that there are indeed many like them. Meanwhile, a woman with bunny ears remarks that this is a totally different dimension where things are different, adding that they really like humans. He then asks Will how he likes his new life. Will reassures someone that it's okay, and as a dark, shadowy figure appears behind him, he tells them not to worry about it. He then reflects that before he remembered everything, he wondered what he would be doing when he died, especially since his parents died early and it was hard. The boy asks about Lux Canis, and the dog god confirms its presence, identifying himself as the Dowdy. The boy is surprised to learn that Run is not an ordinary dog. The dog god explains that Lux Canis is his divine messenger and a divine beast, sent to Earth on the day the boy was born. An action a woman states was under her order. The dog god explains that Run, a divine beast with strong powers, didn't have any memory of this world when he was a puppy. He was more like a brother than a bodyguard, smart and helpful in taking care of the speaker's sister. The dog god then states he sent Lux Canis to someone he thought would get along well with him, and is sure Lux Canis is happy then too. The dog god reminds Will that he was the one who named the dog Run, though Will might not recall it. Will, seeing the dog again, calls it Lun, and learns its name is Lux Canis, remembering that they tried to tell him when they first met, but he was too young to speak well. The slime god expresses happiness that Will liked Lux Canis. Separately, someone arrives and announces they also sent their divine messenger recently. The slime god confirms that her sister named the slime Wobbly, remarking what a great name it is. Meanwhile, the dog god thinks stupid brother as Will thanks someone. Will then ponders a question, and the dog god states nope, asking if divine messengers are like those chosen by gods. Page explains that messengers are divine beasts with great abilities, unlike normal living creatures, giving Run and Fur as examples. God's chosen ones are normal living creatures granted talent by deities, and in essence, they are divine beasts. A powerful chosen one might still be a dog, but a messenger would be half god. A wolf-like divine beast excitedly shouts "Go ahead!" and whoops, finding something scary. A woman interrupts, stating she also has things to discuss. Will then remarks that he thinks time is running out. As he begins to fade with a whoosh, the woman exclaims in alarm, "You're fading?" and declares she needs to tell him something important. Adelphus urges Will to stop, stating time is running out. Will declares he will treasure something, while a slime creature says it will watch through Fur, and another god entrusts Lux Canis to someone's care. Will then speaks to Adelphus about the human god's messenger. As Will begins to fade with the F-womb sound, Adelphus calls out his name in alarm, attempting to reveal who the divine messenger is. Will wonders what Adelphus was trying to tell him just now. Then someone calls out his name and he looks surprised. He is then shown with a young woman looking forward. A young man looks on with wide, surprised eyes as a woman explains how institutions train themselves in their own areas of strength, how students research in advance for examinations, and how this is measured for post-entrance training policy. She adds that acceptance isn't based on the number of guardian deities alone, as those numbers aren't accounted for in entrance exam results. Below, Will looks forward with a thoughtful expression, while a young woman beside him blushes and looks down, saying, "As you know." So, a young man assures someone he will do his best at the entrance exam. He then asks about its contents, learning that it will consist of both written and practical portions. The explanation continues that there are various types of exams prepared, and passing requires achieving an excellent grade in any one of them. It's also noted that chosen individuals have an advantage in competing in these fields, which include subjects like stealth, lockpicking, sword fighting, bowmanship, magic, and academics. A man with a bandana reveals his guardian deity. It is the sword god, and is asked if he is one of the gods chosen. Separately, a young woman explains she has just become an apprentice in the Agency of Salvation, and despite her power, she trains every day. A boy remarks on her youth and her apprentice status. Later, the boy ponders something while looking at a group that includes the young woman. A woman blushes as two men argue, one saying they need to explain themselves and the other questioning if Will doubts their affection. Another man tells someone to calm down, prompting a retort about being called stupid. They express surprise that Will left so quickly. Later, the magic god defends someone named Murdo, stating humans don't know about apostles, while the fire god complains that problems have made their chosen one look incompetent. A man questions the god of military arts, asking what an apostle is, and why their blessing wasn't measured by a device. Another character then explains the chosen ones are normal living beings, while divine messengers possess half a god's power. The explanation is accompanied by an image of a large dog and a slime labeled divine messengers, contrasted with a young woman, a cat, and a small dog labeled chosen ones. Meanwhile, one man asks if the other forgot something, to which the other replies confused, asking what that has to do with the measuring device's results. Will is revealed to be not a chosen one, but a divine messenger of the human god, much like Run and Fur are divine beasts. Furthermore, the human god is the daughter of the supreme god and the princess of the gods, whose divine beasts are called apostles, a special kind of messenger. Will, with their blessing, is an apostle of the gods. One character explains that Will is an apostle, is the most amazing of all divine messengers and beasts. However, they clarify that a measuring device is specifically for the human race and not for apostles. The other character then expresses understanding. A man proudly declares Will is his apprentice and vows to defend him against any unfair criticism. Elsewhere, someone expresses confidence that there will be no problems. Two other men also boast that Will is their apprentice, while the god of war is noted as doing the right thing. A dragon god is being pressured to send their divine beast to Will, with the explanation that guardian deities aren't very useful, and the decision is still being voted upon. In a nursery, children are playing. One boy is energetically hitting toys and another child with sticks, making loud smack and DRR sounds. A girl named Sari is called out and then appears to be hit by a stick, crying out in pain. Suddenly, a loud will is heard and a young girl looks on with wide, surprised eyes. A young girl, tears welling in her eyes, insists she will not cry, even as a pot falls around her. Pot lands with a rattle, and she hunches over. Suddenly, a warning is shouted, "Watch out!" followed by a surprised cry as something rushes past with a whoosh. A sudden crash sends debris flying. Sari is thrown through the air, looking shocked as the impact surrounds her. Meanwhile, Will embraces someone, shielding them from the chaos. From a distance, someone watches as a person in uniform checks on Sari. Then another child who are on the ground amidst scattered items. The observer is surprised, noting they didn't even see the other child move. Will holds Sari close, and she seems to be recovering, letting out a relieved sigh. Will then questions who Sari truly is. Nearby, someone apologizes to Alti, while another character reassures them that it's alright. The blonde-haired individual arrives at a door with a rush of speed, then steps inside. The door creaks open, and a young woman inside grants permission to enter. The newcomer announces, "I've returned," and is met with a simple yes from someone seated behind a desk. Sage meeting member and sword saint Zenobia Adele Balling is at her desk, reviewing a document. Someone asks her about Wilvormus, and she acknowledges the report, stating, "Good work." Later, she remarks, "I see," as another individual describes Will, noting that he's an A-tier world who doesn't act his age but seems smart and courageous. The observer notes him, "As I thought," while watching something circle around the device. Then a character is told, however, his only guardian deity is a human god. The listener confirms yes before asking, "Is that true?" A young woman with long hair and pointed ears expresses a feeling that something is wrong. Another woman asks if she means something is wrong, to which she replies that she was thinking to herself and asks if the other is sure nothing else was strange. She then wonders how to answer, questioning if she is being tested or if there is something else. Alti sighs and pats her companion, assuring her she isn't trying to test her. The other woman, however, still feels something is unnatural or strange. She then recalls a question she was asked, if there were any instances of someone losing consciousness when using the measuring device. Characters ponder a situation that requires Murdo's attention, wondering what it signifies. Elsewhere, one person asks another for their thoughts on Will, suggesting that if his patron god is only human, it's reasonable to assume Will lacks special talents. However, another voice declares that he definitely possesses outstanding talent. A young girl exclaims in surprise. Another girl, holding swords, agrees to a task and then instructs someone to keep looking after Will. The scene then shows the swordswoman drawing her weapon with swiftness, as another girl observes. An elf girl with horns holding a sword pointed forward stands ready. To her left, an armored girl with reddish-brown hair looks on, a whoosh sound effect indicating rapid movement. The armored girl asks why she was asked to bring someone, while the elf girl, drawing her sword, inquires if anything else is needed. The elf girl arrives with a rush, and the blonde-haired character questions her, asking if she didn't already explain that interference was expected. The elf girl states she disagrees, then apologizes. The other character reassures her, saying it's fine and that thinking the way is important. An armored girl asks if Will is related to the calamity beast, Tenebris. Another girl with pointed ears questions if something is related to it, looking troubled. A third character reacts with shock, exclaiming as Will. This is the title page for Volume 1 of Reincarnated as an A-tier, Old Apostle of the Gods. This page displays abstract flames on a dark background, juxtaposed with a bright, stylized landscape featuring a text manga buddy.co in the world of manga. Chapter 3 begins with Will finding himself in the realm of the gods, where a serene goddess tenderly rests her hand on his head. Imposing figures loom in the background, hinting at the divine nature of their surroundings. The woman with the scarf confirms that unfortunately, Will's guardian deity is human. She then asks if anyone has ever lost consciousness when the measuring device was in use, but states that from what she knows, that hasn't happened. "I see," a young boy murmurs. In a vision or memory, figures from the past speak of their years training with the gods before reincarnation, one confident that he was favored. Later, the boy, looking out into a vast expanse, recalls that the gods were always so friendly when they talked with him. A hand touches a crystal, causing a dazzling effect. A girl then tells Will to place his hand on the crystal. Seconds later, Will looks overwhelmed as something happens. Will arrives with a rush into a vast, ornate chamber filled with divine symbols. Overwhelmed, he wonders if he has reached the realm of the gods. Nearby, A horned figure looks on in surprise. A divine figure, adorned with a halo, asks if the person before her is Adelphus. The younger figure present states that he goes by Will now. Off to the side, another character expresses relief that Will is doing okay. Below, a crowd of figures reacts with surprise and murmurs, confirming Adelphus's arrival. A woman with elaborate hair recognizes Will, who confirms his name and states it is Will now. He then asks if his presence means he has died. Will questions if she is a god. Should have been able to foresee this, to which he replies by asking why he is here. Behind them, a crowd of figures reacts with surprise and murmurs. In the next moment, several people in the crowd exclaim that they too saw something and know what happened. A divine woman, her face flushed with anger, shouts "Shut up!" as a sharp sound effect rings out. Below, a dragon, a horned warrior, and another figure are gagged and restrained, their struggles silenced. In the midst of this, Will is asked by a calm goddess, "So, how did you get here?" He can only offer a hesitant, "Ah well." A goddess asks Will if he didn't know about something humans made. The conversation turns to how gods view humans, comparing them to ants and noting that divine favors don't necessarily mean interest in human society. Will then accuses a blushing goddess of thinking something horrible again, prompting her surprised exclamation. A goddess remarks that they really like humans, and Will agrees that this dimension is different. Another goddess adds, "Indeed, a lot of them." The first goddess then asks Will how he likes his new life, to which he replies, "It's okay." Will then recalls that his parents died early and it was hard, and before he remembered everything, he wondered what he would be doing when he died. A shadowy figure tells him not to worry about that. The dog god is revealed, confirming the presence of Lux Canis and explaining that this is why. A young boy, surprised, learns that Run Run is not an ordinary dog. Another deity reacts with surprise to the name Run Run. The boy understands that this was orchestrated, and a goddess declares it was done under her order. The dog god then explains that Lux Canis, his divine messenger and a divine beast, was sent to Earth to coincide with the day the boy was born. The armored man explains that the large, growling divine beast would instinctively protect Will, noting its strong powers despite having no memory of this world and arriving as a puppy. Later, Will watches the wolf, like Run Run, who is more like a brother than a bodyguard to his sister, and expresses his gladness. Finally, a wolf-like deity tells Will not to pat its head, adding that Lux Canis is sure to be happy as it was sent to someone they thought would get along well. A deity reminds Will that he was the one who named Run Run, though Will probably doesn't remember doing so. In a flashback, a younger Will, unable to speak well, interacts with the dog, calling him Lun. The deity explains that this is Lux Canis, and they tried to tell him the dog's name when they first met. The slime god expresses happiness that Will liked Lux Canis. Another deity then tells Will, "Hey, I also sent my divine messenger recently." A girl asks Will if he's referring to the slime, noting that his sister named it Wobbly. The dog god and the slime think of Will as a stupid brother, but Will thanks someone. Will then asks if divine messengers are like those chosen by gods, to which the dog god replies, "Nope." The nature of divine messengers like Run Run and Furfur is clarified. They are divine beasts possessing great abilities. Meanwhile, God's chosen ones are described as normal living creatures granted talents by their guardian deities, with examples including Alti, disciples, and other creatures. A messenger, it's noted, would still be half god, unlike a chosen one who remains their original form. Later, a goddess interrupts, asking if the conversation is finished as she has matters to discuss. As Will states that time feels like it's running out, the goddess reacts with alarm, noticing he is fading and urgently declaring she needs to tell him something important. The goddess urges Will to stop, stating time is running out as he declares he will treasure something. The slime creature Furfur also vows to watch over Will. The goddess then entrusts Lux Canis to Will's care. As Will begins to fade, a goddess exclaims his name and urgently states that the human god's messenger is. Will wonders what the goddess was trying to tell him just now. He then finds himself with a girl wearing a scarf who looks serious and he appears surprised. Will then calls out Will as he looks towards a girl seen from behind. The girl explains that while various institutions train individuals in their own strengths and students research in advance for examinations, the number of guardian deities is not taken into account for entrance exam results. He clarifies that acceptance isn't based solely on guardian deities, though they are measured as a reference for post-entrance training policy. He then turns to the boy, looking shy, and says, "As you know." So, the boy assures the girl he will do his best at the entrance exam, and she says that's good. He then asks about the exam's contents, and he explains it will involve both written and practical tests. He elaborates that chosen individuals will have an advantage in their respective fields, such as stealth, lockpicking, swordplay, archery, magic, or academics. There are various types of exams, and passing any one of them with an excellent grade means passing overall. A man with a headband and armor reveals that his guardian deity is the sword god, and asks a girl if she is one of the gods chosen. The girl with the scarf then explains that she recently became an apprentice in the Agency of Salvation, and the boy remarks on how young she is to already be part of it. He confirms she trains every day, prompting him to question if she's still an apprentice despite her power. The deities are in distress, worried that Will might doubt their affection for him. One insists they must explain themselves, while another expresses shock at how quickly Will departed. The magic god points out their limitations if humans remain ignorant of an apostle's existence. The fire god defends someone named Murdo, then laments that recent problems have made Will their chosen one, appear incompetent. The god of military arts questions another man, asking if he is truly a god and what an apostle is. He also wonders why their blessing was measured by a device. The page then visually contrasts divine messengers, represented by a large wolf and a slime, with chosen ones, shown as a girl with a scarf, a cat, and a small dog. It's reiterated that chosen ones are normal living beings while divine messengers possess half a god's power. The god of military arts, distressed, asks if the other person forgot something, to which the man replies, questioning how that relates to the measuring device's results. Will, after reincarnation and training, was not a chosen one but a divine messenger of the human god instead, just like Run and Furfur are divine beasts. Further, Will is an apostle of the gods with their blessing. Divine beasts of the princess gods are called apostles, a special kind among messengers, and the human god is the daughter of the supreme god and princess of the gods. The armored man struggles to understand, but his companion explains that an apostle is the most amazing of all divine messengers and beasts, and Will is the most amazing among them. Meanwhile, a boy and girl stand near a device, with the girl clarifying that it is a measuring device for the human race, but not for apostles. The armored man still doesn't grasp it, but the other seems to understand. A man proudly declares Will as his apprentice and vows to defend him against any criticism, while others also claim Will as their apprentice. The god of war is seen taking action, and elsewhere a woman impatiently demands the dragon god send his divine beast to Will. However, the dragon god states the matter is still being voted upon, prompting a remark that guardian deities aren't very useful. Children are playing in a nursery. Two boys are roughhousing with sticks, one knocking the other to the ground. A girl named Sari calls out. The roughhousing continues, with one girl crying out as she is hit. Then, a girl with long blonde hair looks on with surprise and calls out Will's name. This page contains promotional text and an image unrelated to the story's narrative. A girl, struggling to hold back tears, insists she won't cry, but a pot falls from above. The pot then strikes someone, eliciting groans and rattling sounds, while another girl cries out in surprise. Suddenly, the surprised girl reacts to something moving swiftly past her. A crash sends debris flying through the air. A girl with long reddish-brown hair looks on in surprise. A boy quickly pulls someone into a protective embrace, moving them away from the danger. Below them, a blonde-haired girl stares with wide, shocked eyes as the chaos erupts. From a distance, a girl in an apron rushes towards a scene where a boy and a girl are on the ground amidst scattered items, asking if they are okay. Observing from afar, another girl remarks that she didn't even see him move. The boy, holding the girl close, sighs in relief and questions his own identity. Meanwhile, other characters react to an event, with one apologizing and another mentioning Alti. A girl with long red hair bursts through a door with a whoosh. Inside, a surprised girl with blonde hair and a scarf invites her in. The red-haired girl steps inside and announces her return, to which a figure seated at a desk replies. Zenobia Adele Balling, a Sage Meeting member and Sword Saint, is asked how Will Vormus performed and reports that he did good work. Later, she acknowledges this, and another girl describes Will as an 8-year-old who doesn't act his age but seems smart and courageous. Two figures observe a device, one musing as I thought, while the other ponders. Someone then states that Will's only guardian deity is a human god. When asked if this is true, the other confirms it with a simple yes. One character voices her suspicion that something is wrong. Another asks if she's sure nothing else was strange, to which she replies that she was thinking something herself. Her companion then asks, wrong? As she considers how to answer, she wonders if she is being tested, pondering her master's true intentions. One character sighs, calling out Alti, while another pats her shoulder and reassures her she's not being tested. The first character then expresses her suspicion that something unnatural or strange might have happened. Her companion blushes, and when asked she explains that Will had inquired if anyone had lost consciousness while using the measuring device. Two figures examine something, one musing on its meaning and suggesting Murdo should check it. Another character asks for her companion's thoughts. The companion considers that if Will's patron god is only human, it's reasonable to assume he lacks special talents. However, her companion emphatically states that Will definitely possesses outstanding talent. The girl with elf ears exclaims OH. He then states, of course. In that case, keep looking after Will then. With a swift whoosh, she draws her sword, while another girl observes. The feared girl draws her sword with a sharp sound, while the other girl looks on with a troubled expression. The girl who brought someone asks why she was asked to do so, to which the feared girl replies, asking if anything else is needed. The blonde-haired girl asks if she already explained something, stating she had expected interference. The other girl disagrees, but the blonde-haired girl dismisses it, saying it's fine and that thinking that way is important. She then apologizes. A question is posed. Is Will? Then, another asks if he is related to the calamity beast, Tenebris. Will is shown with his companions, a young girl with blonde hair, a girl in a witch's hat, and a large white dog. He also holds a small blue slime creature. This image marks the beginning of Volume 2. This is the cover for Volume 2 of Ikara Hajimaru Kamigami no Shido no Tensei Seikatsu. It features an illustration of a cheerful blue slime creature perched atop the head of a young blonde girl with wide, curious eyes. Volume 2 of the story unfolds, beginning with Chapter 4, The Tenebris Cult, which starts on page 3. The narrative then proceeds to Chapter 5, Entrance Exam, beginning on page 45. Next, readers will encounter Chapter 6, Reunion with the Girl, commencing on page 87. The volume continues with Chapter 7, Rosetta's Invitation, which starts on page 129. A young girl with a headband beams with delight, spoon in hand, as she looks forward to her meal. Chapter 4, Order of Tenebris, begins. The ill-feared girl questions if her mission to retrieve Will is connected to Tenebris, the Calamity Beast. Alti believes any interference is likely a response to an alert from Tenebris. When asked why she thinks that, her colleague ponders the question. The agent explains that her organization, the Agency of Salvation, was created to fight against the Order. He muses that it is reasonable to assume she was sent to retrieve the youngest among them all, and she understands why her master would be concerned. She elaborates that Will Vormus, a candidate as talented as he is, would be seen as a threat by the Order, who would try to sabotage him. Meanwhile, Alti is addressed, and another girl asks what Will is exactly. The first ill-feared girl tells her companion that she's getting the gist of their mission and has done a good job. She explains that she cannot reveal the full reason for their actions right now, but they will talk again later, and the other girl can step back. The second girl, looking flustered, understands. The first girl then muses that Tenebris is one of the names of the Calamity Beast, makes a clicking sound, and with a forceful BIM excuses herself. A secret cult devoted to the Calamity Beast, Tenebris, is revealed. Its fanatical followers believe the beast's resurrection is near, and are actively seeking talented individuals to oppose it. A magical scroll, part of an application for prospective students, is shown to be capable of measuring a person's magic value. An feared individual unrolls it, stating they've set it up to find the most talented efficiently and express surprise at finding someone. The scroll's target is then revealed to be Will Vormus, leading to a question about his identity. Will sighs, feeling disheartened. Alti explains that while the number of guardian deities doesn't affect entrance exam scores, having only one can make one lose confidence. The young girl yawns, exhausted, but reassures that if she doesn't get in, they can still live without returning to the mainland, as she can earn enough money to feed Sari. The girl notices Will seems troubled and asks if he's hungry. He admits he might be, so he offers him something. With great excitement, she presents him with a large piece of food, urging him to eat it. The character explains that the dried meat they have was given to them by their retainers. They recall being in the main house where the sons harassed them and refused to give them proper food. Even then, food was scarce, so when the retainers had an unusual surplus, they stored it, sometimes sharing their meals. But aren't you hungry too? Will asks the girl, who initially dismisses the idea. Despite her stomach growling loudly, she excitedly insists on giving him the snack she received from Alti earlier, and Will gratefully accepts it. Will laughs as he eats something, telling the girl it's good. He then informs her that they can eat at the cafeteria, and mentioning he heard about it from Alti. The girl reacts with astonishment, asking if it's true. Will adds that they can even get refills, prompting another, even more shocked exclamation from her. Will tells the girl she's had it rough and doesn't need to eat leftovers anymore. She joyfully insists it's because he's here with her. The girl then declares they should go to the cafeteria, determined to pass whatever comes for Sari's sake. The girl gasps in amazement at the large plate of food before her, exclaiming WOW. As they arrive at the cafeteria, Will encourages her to eat a lot, and he eagerly asks if she can really have it. Later, seated at a table, Will tells their wolf companion Run and a small creature Wobbly that they can have their fill too. Will encourages the girl to eat slowly as she savors her meal, exclaiming how delicious it is. He watches her, his expression thoughtful. Meanwhile, in a large, empty dining hall, a question arises about whether the students at the Heroes Academy are off campus for in-service training, noting that despite this, the hall is deserted. Will then reflects on his own aspirations, thinking, if I could get admitted. Sari is eating and asks for a moment. Will thanks her and she makes a small sound. Will then speaks about getting admitted to the Heroes Academy, which causes Sari to look worried. She asks if he can stay home, explaining that if she gets in, she'll be away from the academy more often than not. Will reassures the girl, calling her a good girl and telling her she can stay home, that he'll be fine. The girl, delighted by being called a good girl, hugs the blob creature, which squeaks. Will then reveals that the creature, which they've been calling Wobbly, never had a proper name. The blob creature squeaks as a hand pets it, and someone remarks that it looks happy. Will lists many names he's considered for the creature, like Slimebo and Healder, noting that Sari calls him Wobbly and he's gotten into the habit, but he actually wants to give him a real name. He then thinks he doesn't want to make the same mistake with Run. When someone calls out to him, Will replies that Run isn't a particularly bad name. The girl joyfully hugs the blob creature, exclaiming that Wobbly is Wobbly. When Will asks if she truly wants to name him Wobbly, she enthusiastically agrees. Observing the creature, Will notes that he also seems to like the name. He reflects that both Run and Wobbly are divine beasts, and he feels he can understand what they are saying. Will agrees, and the girl declares the creature's name is Furfur, while Will insists it is Wobbly. Meanwhile, Run sleeps soundly, letting out a sigh. Examination day has arrived at the dorms. As Will confidently states he thinks he's ready, the girl and Run offer him words of good luck. Birds fly outside the window as Will turns to face a door, preparing to knock, with the girl looking on with apprehension. Alti arrives to pick up the girl, who asks if he's ready. He invites him in, and when he asks if she isn't busy, she replies that she's quite free. He then questions if Alti himself doesn't have anything to prepare for on examination day. Run the wolf licks the girl's face as she wonders if she's being kept from any work, or perhaps is under house arrest. Run then pulls her into a hug, and she asks Will if he will take Run and the slime with him. As the girl holds the blob creature, Will confirms its name is Wobbly. Will chooses Furfur, his magical pet, to accompany him, advising that controlling it will help him pass the test. The girl expresses concern that Sari might get lonely if left alone, but also believes Sari needs to get used to staying home by herself. Will then tells Sari that Run and Wobbly won't be with him today, prompting the girl to ask if he'll be alright on his own. Sari reassures Will that she'll be fine and will suggest they go to the cafeteria together once he's finished with his tasks. Later, as they prepare to head to the examination room, Run suggests they make a stop at the nursery first. Alti states he can go no further as the girl thanks him for everything, to which he replies, no problem. Later, Run thanks Will, and the girl wishes him good luck. Will waves goodbye to the girl, but lets out a reluctant ugh. As he heads off, two men approach, one remarking that it smells of beasts and stinks. Run growls at them, but they demand not to be ignored. They then confront the group, warning them that they are going against the Vormus family and questioning if an illegitimate son shouldn't bow down to them. Two men identified as noblemen of the Vormus family confront Will and Run. One of the Vormus men sneers, demanding Will bow down to them and promising a beating regardless. Will, however, is focused on obtaining a blessing for his upcoming examination, musing that the Vormus family seems to lack talent in choosing their gods. Run growls menacingly at the men, but Will calms him, thinking that eating them would only lead to a stomachache. Run lets out a fierce growl as one of the Vormus men demands if Will is even listening to them, calling him a brat. When asked to bow down, Will questions why he would ever do that, while the Vormus men react with surprise and apprehension. One of the Vormus men shouts, "Damn you!" A forceful impact is felt as Will, shocked, retorts that they are the brats and an embarrassment to the Vormus family, warning them not to besmirch the family name. The two Vormus men recoil in fear, one exclaiming, "Eek!" The Vormus family men continue their aggressive confrontation, one calling Will a brat and the other threatening that they won't let him off anymore. After Will confirms he has already tried out the affection meter, they change tactics and ask how many guardian deities he has. Will replies that he and his brother each have 4. The Vormus family members are impressed by rumors that the family has 4 deities. One of them demands that Will answer his question, to which the girl replies 1. The two Vormus men are then shown laughing. The Vormus men continue their aggressive questioning. One tells Will to speak louder so he can be heard, while another demands he repeat himself. Will retorts that their brains might be as bad as their ears. Enraged, one of the Vormus men calls him a brat while others watch and chatter. The Vormus men continue their aggressive confrontation, calling Will a son of a whore and telling him not to get ahead of himself. They dismiss him as the son of a lowly prostitute and question why he would fight them with 4 deities. As one of the men reacts with fear, Will prepares to unleash a powerful counterattack. Will declares he won't tolerate their lies about his parent being a prostitute, and one of the Vormus men is slapped across the face. Will then taunts them, questioning if they're scared of an 8-year-old boy with 1 deity, especially coming from the main house of the Vormus family, and includes the other men. The Vormus man tells Will to know his place and asks if he wants to duel. Another slap is delivered, and the Vormus man recoils in fear, exclaiming he won't. Will declares he will take on both opponents and lets them make the first move. One of the Vormus men curses him in response. The two Vormus men then confront Will, telling him not to mess with them and asking if he is making fun of them. Behind Will, a shadowy figure appears and calls out, "Hey, why?" The Vormus men threaten Will, warning him that he'll be dead in a ditch if he ever leaves the Vormus name behind. Will dismisses their threats, stating they only apply to them, not him. He then declares he has a condition for them as well, responding with a defiant, "Oh yeah." One of the Vormus men, surrounded by others, declares that if he wins, Will must retract his statement and apologize to his mother's grave. Another Vormus man sneers that Will wouldn't win even if the world turned upside down. Suddenly, a large boot steps into view, and a new voice asks if they are having fun, noting that they are in front of the examiner for the written exam. The examiner arrives, interrupting the confrontation. He states that students are not allowed to duel without permission, and that examinees are treated like students. Will, however, insists he is not a student. The examiner warns Will that he narrowly escaped death, but Will defiantly retorts that he could have knocked the examiner down as much as he wanted. The examiner intervenes, telling one of the youths to get their duel over with. Another character, presumably Will, protests that he thought they were taking a written test, then asks if they really want to duel. A girl with dark, wavy hair then questions how she can concentrate on the written exam without restoring the honor of her late mother, to which someone replies, "Of course." Meanwhile, another character states that concentration on the exam is impossible if things keep going like this. Students discuss the ongoing situation, seeing it as a good opportunity and noting that the practical exam venue can be shown ahead of time, with one student hoping the academy will shield him from the Vormus family. Surrounded by a crowd and his guardian beast, the main character resolves that since this is an academy-sanctioned duel, he can make his opponents get what they deserve for his father, mother, and Sari. This page displays the title of the series, The Reincarnated Life of a God's Apostle, starting at age 8. The series title, The Reincarnated Life of a God's Apostle starting at age 8, is displayed. A young girl, her face alight with pure joy, grips a spoon ready to dig into a delicious-looking meal. The chapter title, Chapter 4, Order of Tenebris, is displayed. A tall figure asks if Will is being picked up this time and if it's related to Tenebris, the calamity beast. The elf-like girl, Alti, assumes the recent interference is in response to an alert from Tenebris. Another character then asks why she thinks so. A young woman from the Agency of Salvation explains that her organization was created to fight against the Order. She believes she was sent to pick up the youngest of them all and understands why her master would be concerned about Will Vormus, a candidate so talented that the Order would see him as a threat and try to sabotage him. him. Meanwhile, Alti and another girl discuss Will, with the second girl asking Alti what he truly is. One elf-like girl praises another, telling her she's getting the gist of the mission and has done a good job. The younger girl understands, but is told she can step back for now, with a promise that they will talk again later, as there's a reason she can't be told everything right now. Suddenly, the younger girl recalls that Tenebris is one of the names of the Calamity Beast, and after a click, she excuses herself. A secret cult of fanatical followers worships the Calamity Beast, convinced its resurrection is imminent and that they are still active. They believe the day of its return is not far off. To counter this threat, there is a pressing need for people who can stand against the beast, and a call goes out to urgently seek out the talented. A magical scroll, found within the application form for prospective students, is revealed to be capable of measuring a person's magic value. An elf-like individual, holding the scroll, expresses surprise at finding someone like this, explaining they set it up to efficiently locate the most talented individuals. Meanwhile, a character wonders aloud about the identity of Wilvormus. The protagonist sighs, appearing troubled. Someone remarks that the number of guardian deities does not factor into the entrance exam scores. Alti's past words are recalled. When you only have one guardian deity, you start to lose confidence. Two characters yawn, with one slumping over and stating that if they don't get in, they can still manage to live without going back to the mainland, as they can at least make enough money to feed Saria. A girl asks a boy if he's hungry. He admits he might be, so she eagerly offers him a large piece of meat, urging him to eat. The boy holds up a piece of dried meat, explaining that it was given to them by their retainers. He recalls that when he was in the main house, the sons there would harass them and wouldn't give them proper food. Even then, supplies were limited, so when the retainers had an unusual surplus, they stored it in a particular way, sometimes sharing their own meals. The boy offers a snack to the girl, asking if she's hungry, but she refuses, stating she already got a snack from Alti. Inside her stomach growling, she then offers her snack to the boy, who accepts it. A girl giggles as a boy eats, declaring it's good. He then tells her that she can eat at the cafeteria, mentioning he heard about it from Alti. The girl reacts with shocked excitement, exclaiming, "Really? And you can get refills." The boy gently tells the girl she doesn't need to eat leftovers anymore, and she joyfully replies it's because he's here with her. He then states he can't be weak at this time and suggests they go to the cafeteria. The girl excitedly agrees, and Sari also chimes in with a yeah. The boy adds that he must pass this no matter what for Sari's sake. A young girl exclaims "WOW" at a large plate of food before her. They have arrived at the cafeteria, where a boy tells a girl, of course, eat a lot. She asks hesitantly if she can really eat this, but he reassures her. He then tells their companions, a dog and a small creature, to run and eat their fill too. The boy tells the girl to eat slowly, wiping her face as she enthusiastically enjoys her meal, declaring it delicious. He then looks around the empty cafeteria, wondering if the students are off campus for training and noting the lack of people. His thoughts drift to his own ambition, musing about the possibility of getting admitted. This page contains a promotional message and does not advance the story. Sari is happily eating with a chew sound effect. Someone asks if they can have a moment. In the next sequence, a boy expresses his determination to get admitted to the Heroes Academy, while a girl looks on with surprise. Another boy thanks a girl who assures him he'll surely get in. Later, a girl asks if she can stay home, while someone else explains they will be away from the academy more often than not. The girl excitedly declares she can stay home and will be fine. The boy calls the smaller girl a good girl and pats her head. The smaller girl happily repeats that he called her a good girl, while the slime creature beside her makes a questioning sound. The boy then asks the slime if it's okay, and the smaller girl looks surprised. He reveals that they never gave the slime Wobbly her real name. The boy gently pats the slime, which lets out a happy squeak. He observes that the slime looks happy, and notes that while Sari calls him Wobbly, he's gotten into the habit of using that name too. He thinks about all the silly names they've used for the slime, like Slimebo and Slimekitch, and admits he actually wants to give him a real name. The girl suggests Run Run, saying it isn't a particularly bad name, but the boy hesitates, determined not to make the same mistake he did with Run Run. The girl hugs the slime, exclaiming that Wobbly is Wobbly. The slime squeaks in response, and the girl agrees. The boy asks if Wobbly is really the name she wants for him. He reflects that Run Run and Wobbly are divine beasts, and he feels he can understand what they are saying, noting that the slime seems to like the name Wobbly. The boy declares his decision. The girl excitedly announces name set as Furfur, but the boy immediately tells the slime, "Your name's Wobbly from now on." Nearby, a small fox-like creature sleeps soundly, letting out a sigh. Examination day has arrived at the dorms. The boy confidently states that he believes he is ready. Behind him, a girl and a wolf-like creature offer their encouragement, wishing him good luck. Suddenly, a knock sounds at the door. Alti arrives at a girl's door, announcing he's come to pick her up. The girl, armed with a sword, asks if he's ready, and he invites her in. She claims she's not busy, surprising the girl accompanying Alti, who points out it's examination day and asks if she isn't preparing for anything. The girl insists she is very free. Run, the wolf-like beast licks Sari's face, prompting her to wonder if she's being given no work because she's an apprentice or perhaps is under house arrest. Run then hugs her tightly, asking if she will take him and the slime along. The slime squeaks and Sari asks, "Is that so?" The boy confirms that the slime's name is Wobbly. The boy chooses Furfur, his magical pet, for the upcoming test, advising that controlling one's pet is key to passing. Meanwhile, Sari expresses concern, not wanting to be left alone, but will believe she should get used to staying home by herself. He then tells Sari that Run and Wobbly won't be with them today. Sari declares she will be fine, while the boy agrees to go to the cafeteria with another girl once he is finished. Before heading to the examination room, Sari suggests they make a stop at the nursery. Alti announces he can go no further, and the girl thanks him for everything, to which he replies it's no problem. Later, a girl wishes the boy and his wolf companion good luck, and the wolf thanks her. The boy then waves goodbye to the girl, letting out an ugh. As he does, a man and his companion arrive, remarking that the air stinks and smells of beasts. Run growls, and the man tells the boy and his companions not to ignore them. The Vormis family then confronts the boy, accusing him of defying them as an illegitimate son and demanding he bow down. Two men are identified as noblemen of the house, belonging to the Vormis family. The boy declares he will obtain the blessing anyway, though others note that the Vormis family, despite their status, seem to have poor judgment in choosing gods, and whispers reveal they have 4 guardian deities. As the situation intensifies, Run growls, but the boy calms him, warning that eating their opponents might cause stomach trouble. A Vormis family member then taunts the boy, offering a seemingly easy way out if he bows down, but immediately threatening a beating regardless. The boy, facing this threat, considers his options for a later time. Run growls, demanding if the boy is even listening. As the Vormis family presses him, one asks if he will bow down. The boy, however, defiantly questions why he would ever do that, causing his opponents to react with surprise. The Vormis family member shouts, "Damn you," as a BAM echoes, while another declares, You're the ones who are brats." They then accuse the boy, "You're an embarrassment to the Vormis family." In response, the boy defiantly cries out, "Don't besmirch the family name." Meanwhile, 2 other Vormis family members react with fear, exclaiming, Hey. The Vormis family members confront the protagonist, calling him a brat and threatening him, declaring they won't let him off anymore. One taunts him about having already tried out an affection meter. When asked how many guardian deities he has, the protagonist reveals that he and his brother each have 4. A woman comments that the rumor about the renowned Vormis family having 4 deities was true and impressive. Meanwhile, a man demands, "Hey brat, answer my question," as a girl states one. Below, several Vormis family members react with mocking laughter. The boy sighs, and 2 Vormis family members confront him aggressively, one demanding he speak louder while the other insists he repeat himself. A cracking sound is heard as the situation escalates, and one of the Vormis members insults the boy's intelligence. He is then called a brat, prompting a Vormis member to exclaim "What?" as background onlookers chatter, reacting to the boy's defiance. The Vormis family members continue their verbal assault, one shouting, "You son of a whore," while another warns the boy not to get ahead of himself. Confrontation intensifies as one of them insults him as the son of a lowly prostitute and questions his intent to fight with 4 deities. Amidst the growing tension and rustling sounds, a Vormis member cries out in fear, "Eek," as the boy prepares to act with a determined whoosh. A Vormis family member slaps the protagonist across the face, covering his eyes and declaring he won't tolerate the boy's lies about his parent being a prostitute. Another Vormis member challenges the protagonist, asking if he wants to duel and telling him to know his place. The protagonist taunts them, questioning their fear of an A-tier world with only 1 deity, especially when they hail from the main house of the Vormis family. After another slap, one Vormis member cries out in fear, "No way," to which the protagonist adds, "And you as well." The protagonist declares he'll take them both on, and offers his opponents the first move. One Vormis member curses him, while another asks if they are being made fun of. As a shadowy figure appears, the protagonist calls out, eliciting a smug reaction from a Vormis member. A Vormis family member challenges the protagonist, telling him to throw away the Vormis name if he loses. The protagonist dismisses this, stating it applies to them, not him. Another Vormis member fiercely warns him that he'll be dead in a ditch if he ever leaves the Vormis name behind. Undeterred, the protagonist declares he has a condition for them as well. The Vormis family members press their demands, one ordering the protagonist to retract his statement and apologize to his mother's grey, while another confidently declares that he wouldn't win even if heaven and earth were turned upside down. Amidst their taunts, the protagonist reacts defiantly. Suddenly, a new figure arrives, stepping forward and questioning if they are having too much fun, especially since they are in front of an examiner for a written exam. An examiner arrives, declaring that students are not allowed to duel without permission. He tells the protagonist that examinees are treated like students, but the protagonist asserts he is not one. The protagonist then states he could have easily knocked them down, which enrages a Vormis family member who shouts that the boy narrowly escaped death. The examiner intervenes, telling the protagonist to get it over with, while the protagonist looks confused. The protagonist then remarks that he thought they were going to take a written test, prompting someone to ask if he wants to duel. Meanwhile, a woman asks how she can concentrate on the written exam without restoring the honor of her late mother, to which another character replies that she can't concentrate if she keeps going like this. The protagonist declares that once he is in the academy, he can shield himself from the Vormis family and will no longer be threatened by their power. Nearby, some students discuss that this situation presents a good opportunity, asking if others are interested and if they can do something later, with one offering to show them the venue for the practical exam ahead of time. Amidst a crowd, including his wolf, the protagonist states that since this is an academy sanctioned duel, he can feel free to make his opponents get what they deserve, dedicating his actions to his father, mother, and Sari. The protagonist stands ready, a small flame flickering in his left hand and fiery energy erupting from his right. He is flanked by 2 grinning individuals, one on his left holding a dark, bubbling object, and another on his right, whose hand also crackles with flame. The chapter title, The Entrance Exam, appears below. The practical exam will take place in an arena, where participants are given permission to fight to their heart's content, as it won't damage the venue. The stakes are high. If Danon and his brother win, Will must discard his family name. However, if Will emerge as victorious, Danon and his brother will be forced to kneel and retract their insults against his mother. 2 smug men agree, and a young man in ornate clothing concurs, stating that the situation is perfectly acceptable to him. Another observer feels the conditions aren't balanced. Meanwhile, a blonde-haired figure expresses confidence in facing his opponents, while a fluffy white dog is noted. An armored figure then clarifies that pets cannot fight, asking if a 2-on-1 engagement is acceptable. An examiner confirms with 2 individuals that they have no problems, while another observer notes that he himself is fine with it, and they don't want to appear to be picking on the weak. One of the opponents, with a smug expression, declares he will kill the protagonist slowly, and another agrees that if everyone is in agreement, he has nothing more to say. The duel is about to begin, with one participant ready and the other 2 stating, "Okay, let's begin." The duel is about to begin. The protagonist stands calmly, while his opponents strike dramatic poses. One of them comments that the protagonist's earlier statement about giving them a head start was just a pose, and asks if he doesn't have one himself. One of the opponents lunges forward, calling the protagonist a cheeky brat. The protagonist immediately retaliates with a powerful magical attack, sending the attacker reeling backward and vowing to make him regret this. The protagonist's powerful magic attack explodes, causing destruction and eliciting a woe from onlookers. One opponent questions the protagonist's stance, while the other celebrates the direct hit, marveling at the power and declaring the situation settled. The protagonist, radiating energy, remarks that his opponents are favored by the rock gods. The protagonist's powerful magic attack was met with a swift counter. As one opponent lunges, the protagonist intercepts him with a sudden grab and strike. However, the protagonist is then knocked down, crying out in pain, while his opponent's brother reacts in alarm. One opponent prepares a spell, but is warned it will hit his ally. The protagonist is called a coward, but retorts that his actions are not cowardly. Meanwhile, one of his opponents is caught, unable to break free, and questions the protagonist's immense power as he is struck and cries out in pain. The protagonist, with a confident smirk, declares he could take everyone down instantly. His opponent, pinned and struggling, cries out that he's going to die. Meanwhile, an observer protests to the examiner that the protagonist's surprise attack should be against the rules. The red-haired opponent sighs, remarking that there's no meaning if he doesn't win. Meanwhile, the protagonist recoils in surprise. The protagonist then declares he will give his opponents a chance to attack him for a while, telling them to come at him as much as they want. One of the opponents screams in pain and fear. The protagonist explains his harsh methods, stating that if he doesn't traumatize them to the point where they want nothing to do with him again, they may take their wrath out on Saria. The red-haired opponent, seeing this, resolves that he can't let it end like this. Ivan and his companion agree to use a specific tactic, while a third figure plans to crush them when they perform their signature move. The 2 opponents then strike poses and unleash their technique, accompanied by the sounds of a thwap. The resulting impact causes onlookers to cry out in shock and awe. A massive cloud of buzzing bugs descends. One man dismisses the swarm with a snap, while another points with a flourish. Below, as the cloud approaches, one character wonders if it's fog, only to be corrected that they are bugs. The protagonist identifies them as poison bugs. The 2 opponents prepare their assault, one sneering at the protagonist and the other noting the immense power their technique could wield. They unleash a massive swarm of poison bugs, cheering as it descends upon their targets. The protagonist, facing the swarm, calmly considers his options, while a companion worries that going all out might look suspicious. The protagonist conjures a ball of flame, stating it should be enough. He then throws it, prompting one of his opponents to mockingly ask what he plans to do with such a small flame. The protagonist unleashes his fireball, which explodes with a massive boom. He then calmly observes that all is good now, as the swarm of insects is being blown away. The opponents curse the protagonist, with one lecturing that even bugs have souls and life should be precious. However, the protagonist retorts that he will burn them alive, dismissing their words as he unleashes a powerful attack. Amidst cracking energy, observers note that the magic is an earth attribute, distinguishing it from wind or rock. The protagonist leaps into the air, evading an attack. One of his opponents cries out that their magic missed him. As the protagonist lands, his ally Ivan urges him to change their magic. Meanwhile, 2 of their companions are in visible distress. The guardian deities of Danon and Evan are revealed, with Danon vowing to question the gods if he gets the chance. Observers are astonished that one guardian deity is overwhelming another with 4. Meanwhile, someone asks about Will's match and is told the winner has already been decided. A young woman exclaims, "Oh, it's Hell, it's Ulti." Meanwhile, a boy is sent flying through the air with a voice from off panel challenging him to look for yourself. Another character observes that no matter how well trained, a child shouldn't be able to perform such a trick and wonders if he's strengthening his body with magic. The protagonist is then seen overpowering an opponent, demonstrating incredible speed to avoid magic and the strength to take down a larger foe with one arm, feats that require advanced techniques to enhance magical power. A warrior is asked if a certain action would allow them to throw or kick even a large warrior. Meanwhile, Al is held securely, prompting a laugh and the remark that it's a funny thing to say as he could save a 3-year-old from a fallen object. One character declares they have something else to do, asking if the other wants to see the results before leaving them with the current situation. Two characters pant heavily, while another observes that the situation looks like it will end soon. One of them reacts with shock, asking what. Meanwhile, a young boy remarks that he's tired of hearing about 4 deities and asks if it's already over. As dark liquid splashes down, he declares it's time for him to make his move. The protagonist conjures several water balls, which splash around him. His opponents react with disbelief, mocking the shift from fireballs to water, asking if he intends to play with water now. The protagonist declares this is how you do it as his water attacks strike. The impact is immediate with a loud BAM and water engulfing his opponents. They struggle, gasping and sputtering, overwhelmed by the water ball. Attack! The protagonist's water attacks engulf his opponents. One character warns another that they will suffocate if they don't take care of the situation soon. Another character, explaining a strategy, tells a surprised opponent that even against powerful foes, a little cleverness makes this level of magic easy, asking if they understand now. Meanwhile, the submerged opponents struggle desperately to breathe as water fills their mouths and lungs. The protagonist's water attacks continue to overwhelm his opponents. One of them, his belly distended, declares they won't be forgiven, while his companion defiantly states they will die easily. However, an observer comments that they should have surrendered, warning that the situation is only going to get worse. The boy demonstrates like this as one of the opponents cries out in distress, his stomach distended and rumbling violently. Another opponent groans that his stomach is going to leak, explaining that this is the consequence of ingesting an object controlled by the enemy. The boy tells two characters whose stomachs are rumbling painfully to run to the bathroom, but one defiantly asks who they think they are. Meanwhile, a character grabs another by the collar, threatening to kill him if he moves, while an orange-haired character shouts idiot. One character groans in discomfort as a roll of toilet paper rapidly unspools with a clattering sound. Another character looks on in shock and distress, their faces contorted by the urgent, unpleasant effects of the water attacks. Two characters are shown weeping and drooling, clearly suffering from the effects of the previous attacks. Observers comment that the situation looks bad and is lame. One character decides to make doubly sure, noting that the afflicted smell so bad he doesn't want to go near them. Another character dismisses concerns about excess, while someone questions if the suffering individuals are truly sons of the main house. A character reflects that they humiliated and broke their opponent's spirit, but admits it was a bit too much. Two characters cry out as they are grabbed, one pleading you guys. Meanwhile, a determined individual with a fierce expression declares, don't bother Sari, and me ever again. Below them, two others scream in distress, One character grabs another, exclaiming that these guys have done it again. Meanwhile, two figures lament the situation, one admitting he may have overdone it by using magic to simulate a dragon's roar, while the other reflects that these individuals are supposed to be guardian deities. A shocked observer then questions if these distressed figures are truly worthy of being favored. The crying man is overcome with distress, tears streaming down his face as the protagonist, the boy, looks on with a confused HOH, his hands still glowing with magic. Meanwhile, one character asks another if they are finished, to which the other replies, yeah okay then. Elsewhere, a character crouches, ready to move, saying up we go. Amidst cheers, a taller figure holds the hand of a shorter companion and declares that Will wins. Meanwhile, one character tells another not to worry, who responds with surprise, saying there's no need. Another character then apologizes for messing up the stage, offering to help with the cleaning. Two figures cloaked in shadow appear, announcing, we have come for you, Wilvormus. A young woman stands between them. In the next scene, a masked figure instructs Alti to deal with the brothers, telling another person who nervously agrees that they will proceed with the exam. One figure tells another, you need not worry, while the other hesitates, unsure about leaving things to Alti and thinking they should help clean. Suddenly, stone golems appear with rumbling sounds. A young boy, Will, reacts with surprise, and a companion explains that cleaning is automatically handled by a golem activated by a switch. Will is then told got it and agrees, saying let's go. A young woman blushes, thanking someone for their kindness. Meanwhile, a boy apologizes for letting others make a mess, but is told it's no sweat. He then tells a dog and a smaller creature to run. Two figures in cloaks arrive, their steps echoing. The boy stares intently, realizing their cloaks are likely masking their magic. He then reflects that with multiple members in the organization at this level, it makes sense that Alti is an apprentice, which gives him hope for the fight against the Calamity Beast. The boy and his wolf companion enter a grand room, invited to come in. As he looks around, the boy spots two swords displayed on the wall and exclaims in surprise, wondering where he has seen them before. An elf-like character joyfully embraces Will, exclaiming it's been a while. Will, startled by the hug, calls out to them. Separately, a hooded figure is told they've become cute, and they protest, let go of me. This page displays the title of the series, Ikara Hajimaru Kamigami no Shido no Tensei Seikatsu. The title of the series, Ikara Hajimaru Kamigami no Shido no Tensei Seikatsu is presented. Flames erupt from the hands of a young, determined figure. They stand between two rough-looking individuals. One on the left holds a bubbling vial, with a smug expression, while the one on the right grins widely. This scene opens Chapter 5, the entrance exam. This is where the practical exam will take place, and participants are encouraged to fight to their heart's content, as any damage will not affect the arena. The stakes for a particular match are revealed. If Will wins, Danon and his brother must apologize for their words against his mother, but if Danon and his brother win, Will have to renounce his family name. Two officials agree, one stating that's right and the other confirming exactly. A young participant notes that the conditions for the upcoming match don't seem very balanced. However, another boy declares them perfectly acceptable. When an armored examiner explains that pets are forbidden from fighting, making it a 2 against 1 situation, the boy confidently replies that if those are his opponents, it shouldn't be a problem with his fluffy dog by his side. One participant sighs, noting that someone is fine with the situation. Another adds that they don't want to sound like they're picking on the weak. An official confirms that the two participants have no problems. A character smirks, stating they have nothing more to say if everyone is in agreement, while another menacingly declares they will kill someone slowly. The match is about to begin, with cheers for one participant and the two combatants ready to start. The young boy stands, exuding a sense of calm. His opponents, however, are already striking dramatic poses, one crouched low and the other adopting a theatrical stance. As the match is about to begin, one opponent questions if the boy even has a pose. The boy replies that he did indeed give a pose, reminding his opponent that he had promised to give him a head start before they fought. One opponent, calling the boy a cheeky brat, is pushed away. In retaliation, this opponent unleashes a powerful magical attack, shouting that the boy will die and regret this. The boy is hit by the spell and sent flying. The powerful magic attack hits, creating a massive explosion with a resounding whoa and rumbling sounds. Meanwhile, the boy, seemingly unfazed, questions his opponent's dramatic pose. Another blast of swoosh is seen. One of the opponents gloats that the hit is direct and the matter is settled, exclaiming, "What power!" The boy, however, states that they are both favored by the rock gods. The black-haired opponent grins and grabs, but Will strikes back with a forceful blow. The opponent is hit, but Will cries out in pain, clutching his arm. His brother shouts in alarm. The opponent readies a spell, but Will warns him he'll hit his own ally. Dismissing the opponent's insults, Will states his tactics aren't cowardly. One opponent finds himself unable to break free, wondering at Will's power, while the other is struck with a cracking sound, seemingly forced to understand something. The young fighter, holding his opponent down, declares he could take them all down in an instant. His captive cries out in terror, certain he's about to die. Meanwhile, someone protests to an examiner, calling the swift action a surprise attack that should be against the rules, as a smaller figure looks on in shock. The red-haired character sighs, admitting there's no point if he doesn't win, while a young man in a white shirt is pushed back in surprise. Will, standing calmly in his black and white uniform, offers his opponent a chance to attack him for a while, but the opponent is overwhelmed with fear and cries out. Will states his resolve to traumatize his opponent so thoroughly that they will never dare target Sari again. Watching this unfold, the red-haired character thinks he cannot let it end this way. The opponents agree to use a certain tactic, with one planning to crush their enemies and break their spirit when they perform their signature move. They then strike dramatic poses, ready to unleash their technique. Observers react with shock and fear as something unexpected happens, with one exclaiming in surprise and another crying out. The opponents unleash their tactic, a massive cloud of buzzing insects erupting around them. As the swarm descends, one observer identifies them as poison bugs, while another insists they are just bugs, and a third character mistakes the dense cloud for fog. The two opponents prepare their attack, one taunting their target while the other acknowledges the technique's potential power. They then unleash a swarm of insects, shouting for it to be unleashed. Observing this, Will considers that going all out might appear suspicious, but someone else remarks that there are many ways to handle the situation. This page features a sad-looking frog character, wearing a pink hat and shirt with a heart, set against a backdrop of flames on the left and a bright white space on the right. Text in the white space directs readers to read the latest chapter on mangabuddy.com. The boy conjures a small, swirling flame, confident it will be enough. He throws it, and a grinning opponent mocks him, questioning what he intends to do with such a small flame. Go. The character unleashes a powerful fireball which explodes with a mighty boom. Watching the blast, they calmly note, all good now. Those stupid insects are being blown away. One man lectures that even bugs have souls and life should be precious, but another curses him. A character declares he will burn them alive, unleashing a powerful fiery blast that surges forward. Amidst crackling sounds, a young fighter stands as the nature of his magic is debated, whether it's wind, rock, or earth, concluding it's an earth attribute. A young fighter leaps through the air amidst a flurry of sharp impacts. The girl with red hair laments that her attack failed to hit her target. The young fighter calls out to Avon, suggesting they change their magic, while two observers below react with visible distress. Danon and Evan are identified, along with their guardian deities. Danon has rock, human, wind, and bug gods, while Evan has rock, human, earth, and bug gods. Danon declares he will question the gods if he gets the chance again. Meanwhile, an observer realizes who their guardian deities are. In the next scene, a young woman notes that with one deity, she might be able to become like them if she tries hard. An older man expresses shock, observing that someone with one guardian deity is overwhelming another with 4. Finally, someone asks about Will's match, and another replies that the winner has already been decided. A girl exclaims in surprise, recognizing someone as Al and calling him Alti. Meanwhile, a character in the air taunts another, telling them to look for themselves, while the one below appears distressed. An observer notes that a certain trick is impossible for a child, no matter how well trained, and another wonders if someone is strengthening their body with magic. The page then describes a fight where one combatant displays incredible speed to evade magic and the power to overpower a larger opponent with a single arm, while the other's abilities rely on advanced techniques to enhance magical power. A young girl watches with a pensive expression as a fight unfolds, where one warrior is thrown or kicked by another. An observer comments, "Wouldn't that allow you to throw or kick even a large warrior?" Meanwhile, Al laughs, remarking that it's a funny thing to say, and adds that someone could save a 3-year rolled from a fallen object. Al then states he has something to do, and another character asks if he doesn't want to see the results before saying they'll leave him with this. The match appears to be nearing its end, with 2 fighters exhausted and panting. One of them reacts with surprise, while the other, tired of hearing about their opponent's 4 deities, asks if it's already over. As a dark, viscous substance splashes down, the fighter decides it is time for them to make a move. A young fighter unleashes dark, viscous water balls, prompting an astonished opponent to question their tactics. This new attack follows the earlier display of fireballs. The character with orange hair demonstrates their technique, declaring, "This is how you do it." Their attack hits with a BM, as viscous water balls engulf the faces of the 2 onlookers, who cry out in distress. The orange-haired fighter warns an opponent that they will suffocate if they don't act soon. He then explains that even against 4 deities, using their heads makes this level of magic easy, asking if they understand. Meanwhile, 2 onlookers are engulfed by the viscous magic, struggling and gulping as the substance fills their faces. The orange-haired fighter declares they won't be forgiven, while another character gasps. 2 fighters, one with a distended belly, react with defiance, stating they won't die easily as a loud impact sound echoes. Observing this, the orange-haired fighter comments that they should have just surrendered, and another character realizes things are going to get worse. A young fighter demonstrates a technique, explaining that this is what happens when one ingests an object controlled by the enemy. Meanwhile, a man groans in agony as his stomach churns violently, and 2 others clutch their bellies, fearing they will leak. This page features an advertisement for the website mangabuddy.com, encouraging readers to find the latest chapters there. It does not contain story content. 2 figures cower in fear as a voice tells them to give up and run to the bathroom. One of them, sweating defiantly, asks who their aggressor thinks they are. Suddenly, an orange-haired character shouts "idiot" and issues a stark warning. If you move in the ensuing chaos, another character declares, "We'll kill you," as a swift attack is launched. The larger man groans in agony. Nearby, the smaller man reacts with panic as toilet paper rapidly unspools around him. A sudden, shocking realization dawns. 2 characters weep and drool, looking utterly miserable. Observers comment that the situation is lame and must suck. Meanwhile, a dark-haired man, also crying, notes that someone smells so bad he doesn't want to go near them, but he'll make doubly sure anyway. Another observer questions if certain individuals are truly sons of the main house, remarking that while they were humiliated and their spirit broken, it was perhaps a bit too much. 2 figures are grabbed, one of them crying out, "You guys." An intense individual declares, "Don't bother Sari and me ever again." Nearby, others scream in distress. The sound of a dragon's roar simulation causes shock and wobbling, prompting one observer to exclaim that these guys have done it again. Another character laments that these individuals are supposed to be guardian deities, while the one who used the magic admits he may have overdone it. The caster, looking shocked, questions if these individuals are truly worthy of being favored. The orange-haired youth looks confused, his hands glowing with magic. Beside him, a man cries hysterically, overwhelmed by the effects of the magic. Meanwhile, the character in a suit and scarf prepares to move, saying, "Up we go." Another pair of characters discuss the situation, with one asking if they are done, and the other responding with a questioning "H." "Yeah." The man in the suit and scarf tells the orange-haired youth that Will wins, as cheering erupts around them. Below, a younger character apologizes for messing up the stage, but the man in the suit dismisses the apology, offering to help with the cleaning instead. Another character tells them not to worry about it. 2 figures cloaked in shadow and radiating an ominous glow declare they have come for Wilvormus. Meanwhile, a nervous young man stammers his assent as a stern voice informs him that Alti will deal with the brothers, and he is to proceed with the exam. Someone assures another that they need not worry, though a second person hesitates, wondering if they should leave the cleaning to Alti. Meanwhile, large stone golems rumble into action, and a young girl explains that the premises will be cleaned automatically by the golems with the flick of a switch. A character calls out Will, and Will, having understood, replies, "Got it, let's go." A young woman blushes, thanking someone for their kindness. Beside her, a boy apologizes for letting others make a mess but assures them it's no sweat, adding that she has to deal with them. Later, the boy, accompanied by a dog-like creature, urges them to run, exclaiming, "Let's go!" Two figures in cloaks and masks enter, their footsteps echoing. The boy and his wolf-like companion watch them, the boy staring intently. He observes that their cloaks likely have a masking effect, allowing them to cleverly disguise their magic. The boy then uses that with multiple members of the organization operating at this level, it makes sense that Alti is an apprentice, and he feels there's hope for the fight against the Calamity Beast. The door creaks open, and a voice invites them in. The boy and his wolf companion enter a grand hall, where the boy's eyes fall upon a display of swords. He wonders aloud where he has seen them before, a dawning realization crossing his face. A blonde-haired character, crying tears of joy, embraces their master tightly, exclaiming that it's been a while. The master, looking startled, calls out. Meanwhile, a hooded figure struggles, pleading to be let go, while another remarks how cute they become. A large, fluffy white creature, resembling a friendly dog, is shown. Beside it, a young girl with a slime on her head peeks out from behind something, making a playful face with her tongue sticking out. This marks the beginning of Chapter 6, titled Reunited with Her. The hooded figure, revealed to be Zenobia, looks at swords and notes they belonged to Zenobia 100 years ago. Meanwhile, a blonde character, also named Zenobia, joyfully hugs the hooded figure, calling her master and saying she wanted to see her again. The hooded Zenobia thinks the blonde Zenobia is convinced she is Adelphus. The blonde Zenobia cries, overwhelmed by the reunion, while the hooded Zenobia states, "Yes, I'm Zenobia." The blonde Zenobia, overcome with emotion, hugs the hooded figure tightly, declaring it wasn't just a hunch that made her decide it was her master. The hooded Zenobia, flustered, points out they haven't confirmed each other's identities yet, but the blonde Zenobia continues to cry. The hooded Zenobia tries to calm her down, saying she understands. Meanwhile, a young boy, witnessing something, stammers in surprise as an older man tells him he will explain. An older man, identified as Murdo, greets someone with "It's been a while, master." In the next scene, Murdo explains to a young man that he and the other 3 apprentices are the presidents of their institute, serving on a rotating basis. He then reveals the first reason for their presence, stating, "Now, as to how we came to identify you, Math." Murdo explains that the application form is a magic scroll used to measure and examine his magic power in advance. Meanwhile, the young man recalls measuring his own magic when he filled out the application. Later, an older man and a young girl examine a document sent by retainers. They had initially thought a child inheriting their master's qualities had been born, but now they decided to urgently send someone to pick someone up. Murdo explains that he dispatched his apprentice, Alti, to guard and observe the person before him. The other character acknowledges Alti was his apprentice and notes that talented individuals are taken on directly. The first character then tells Murdo he would be the best teacher a mage could have. Murdo, addressing him as master, replies that he would have accompanied a child who inherited the master's qualities. The young man laments that the gods seem to favor his brothers more than him. An older man checks the logs of a measuring device and reveals the assessment results. The young man's child form is a reincarnation of a master and an apostle of God. A woman, who appears to be the master, confirms this is what she was told when she reincarnated, and the young man is told that as an apostle of the gods, he will behave honorably. Murdo recounts how the young man's past actions, including a duel and a peculiar incident involving diarrhea, served as proof of his identity. He also recalls the young man showing him how to fight with water balls before he died. The young man then asks what Murdo would have done if they hadn't been able to figure out it was him, to which Murdo replies that those events were enough proof, convincing them he was their master's reincarnation. A young girl reacts with surprise, asking what kind of story they're discussing, and another character agrees that they might have thought up a story only they knew from the past. The blonde Zenobia recalls a time when she was 5 years old and on the verge of crying. The young man, her master, asks what she was doing in heaven. She replies that over 100 years have passed and they need to exchange information. Murdo then tells the young man to leave the explanation to him, noting that he only has the knowledge of an A-tier role, and asks to be told about recent events. The Agency of Salvation is introduced, created to fight a dark war, and the Order of Tenebris is mentioned. A few hours later, a monstrous beast roars and characters discuss the strength of the Order. They reveal that the Calamity Beast has not been destroyed, making its resurrection their current priority. The conversation then turns to the nature of the threat, noting that demons are at the center of it all, and that some of the fanatics involved are human. The young man observes a powerful demon, remarking that demons are troublesome due to their tremendous magic and life force, which makes them difficult to defeat. He learns that even disciples who have transcended human limits struggle against many demons, though they can prevail in a one-on-one fight, with the demon's power being akin to a lion's compared to a human's dog-like strength. When the young man questions this, Murdo reveals that this information was not confirmed during his previous lifetime. The situation has worsened, with even more powerful demons emerging, a threat the group struggled to defeat with their 4 apprentices. A shocking development is revealed. Human fanatics are drawn to demonic power, willing to do anything to be turned into demons. The young man expresses disbelief that such a transformation is even possible. Despite the difficulty of dealing with the Calamity Beast's subordinates, he states he has been training to defeat the beast itself, a fact his companion finds reassuring due to his reincarnation. The older man expresses his fascination with the young man's tale of training in the heavenly realm. The young man jokingly warns that such training would take 100 years to complete. The older man reflects on the passage of time, noting that he is getting old, while the young man, despite being nearly 100 120, appears to be in his 60s. He then reassures the young man that his abundant magic signifies a life full of vitality. With tears welling up, the young man calls out to him as master. A young girl excitedly suggests they talk about what they're going to do next, while another character tells her to shut up, noting she was crying from the start and had been holding it in. Meanwhile, someone else is told they've been trying to hold it in for a long time. Later, a young person is advised that it would be better for them to remain a student at the institute and keep their true identity a secret, which is presented as a recommendation. This person protests, pointing out they didn't even take the test and might be suspected of cheating. In the next scene, a young man is praised for his manipulation of fireballs and water balls, which was exquisite, and for defeating 2 people with 4 deities each. He is told that this alone should be enough and that the examiner will recommend the other person. The other person, hearing this, agrees that it's fine. The older man tells the boy he must inform Dayan and Regina, who are out of town. He plans to use special rings he developed for contacting people, and will give one to the boy afterward. The boy explains that they can connect to them using a device by opening its console, showing a glowing magical circle. The older man expresses surprise, asking if such a thing exists. Meanwhile, another character, looking proud, tells the older man that as his teacher, his inventions, like the measuring device, have made him so proud, while the older man cries, saying his tear glands are weak. An older man initiates a magical communication asking if he can be heard. 2 individuals confirm they can hear him. One of them, a young woman in armor, states they are busy, but her companion acknowledges that if Murdo is contacting them, it must be important. The older man then tells them to calm down before delivering his message. Magical communication is established, revealing that the master's reincarnated body has appeared accompanied by 2 divine beasts. The young man addresses Dayan and Regina, remarking that it has been 100 years. Dayan and Regina acknowledge the long time that has passed since they last met. The young man expresses his joy at hearing familiar voices again, promising to share his story in detail next time. The magical communication is abruptly cut off, but not before Murdo remarks that he's glad nothing has changed over the past 100 years, while others find their emotional reactions embarrassing. An older man, a young boy, and an feared girl are present. The girl states she'll let Master take over as a sudden impact occurs. Another feared girl, Alti, is startled and hears a knock. Meanwhile, a young girl is asked to look after Will, and she expresses surprise. The girl who was asked to look after Will has returned, and someone remarks that it's good timing. The master tells one of his companions that Will be a student, but they should think of him as their boss and work with him, even if it's difficult as a member of the Agency of Salvation. He reassures them, expressing faith in their skills, and that there is much to be learned by working with Will. The companion agrees, then asks to share a suggestion. A young woman asks if it would be more natural for her to attend the institute as a student. Another character suggests that it wouldn't be unnatural for her to be an assistant to the president's apprentice, who has already been accepted, noting that she has already served as an assistant to help maintain the examination room. After a moment of thought, she asks for an opinion. A young girl thanks someone profusely, blushing. Meanwhile, a mentor expresses pride in their student, patting them on the head and calls their thinking great. Later, a red-haired feared individual admits they can't get used to speaking formally, even though it's for camouflage. Will asks if this is acceptable, and the feared person agrees, leading to them shaking hands and resolving to get along. An official reports that the test went smoothly, with 30 students passing, as is usual each year. When asked if there were any injuries or accidents, it is revealed that Danon and Avon Vormis are severely injured. A young man asks if his duel had badly injured Danon and Avon, but a girl clarifies their injuries came from a different accident. Later, a man explains that after recovering from the duel, Danon and Avon, their anger reignited, tried to get revenge using poisonous insects. However, they lost control of the insects and were bitten all over. The injured brothers are being treated in the infirmary, their condition not life-threatening. One of them, bandaged and groaning, expresses concern that their deities may have decreased, fearing the gods have forsaken them. The person who brought them there explains they were waiting for the brothers to recover before remeasuring their guardian deities, but a shocking revelation follows. The brothers now have 0 deities. An official reports that while cases of deities increasing or decreasing are known, this current situation is unprecedented. Another character questions if humans can truly have 0 deities, stating that if one is human, they must at least be favored by a human god. Meanwhile, others whisper in confusion, one admitting they don't know, while another asks their master if such a thing is truly possible. Deciding to investigate further, one character resolves to ask the person involved directly, stating no. A woman from the realm of the gods appears, and a young man questions if she used a special device to arrive. She thanks him for the swift information, but notes she didn't realize she was being spied upon. Another character states they understand the situation concerning relatives' blessings. A woman from the realm of God states that something was just a coincidence, which a young man agrees with. He then explains that the cause of the disappearance of a blessing is because he took it away. The young man, shocked, questions his own actions, while someone asks if those he affected were worthy of his affection. He then recalls touching them with both hands and declaring them unworthy. A divine figure explains that apostles are equivalent to divine beasts on earth, a revelation that prompts a question about their authority. Figure then cautions them to use their powers carefully. Amidst some distress, one character expresses happiness to see another again, sighing that they could have explained things better if other gods hadn't intervened, while another character notes that they had wanted to say something at that time. Later, one character states they now understand about apostles, and another recalls trying to explain it to them the last time they were present. A woman declares she's still holding a grudge, while a man wonders why certain brothers have 4 deities when he only had one. Another character explains that while the gods observe Earth, they aren't particularly interested in individuals, suggesting this is why the brothers are irresponsible. Meanwhile, a small figure acknowledges understanding as a figure with a halo asks if it's true that some of the worst people on Earth possess a gift, to which another character replies that the gods are not all powerful. A divine woman tells a young man he shouldn't come to the realm of the gods, though she admits she'll be lonely without him. He replies that he wouldn't want that. She warns him that visiting too often pulls his consciousness to their side, and makes him more likely to die. Another figure then states they will figure out a way to get in touch with him, explaining that it's because he is not a god yet. The protagonist wishes someone had told them something before their reincarnation, while their master acknowledges their considerable power. The protagonist notes that their situation has allowed their training to progress significantly, musing that the gods and powerful beings exist on a different plane, capable of immense change. Later, the protagonist recounts splitting up with their apprentices and heading back to the dorms with Sari after they had all chatted about their plans. A few days later, characters are seen in a courtyard. A man with glasses informs someone that they can stay at the institute until the announcement of their acceptance, which will be made a week later, with the entrance ceremony following the day after. Meanwhile, the protagonist feels they can finally relax now that they are free of the brothers, while another character spots a cat. A young woman in a witch costume recognizes the young man, exclaiming that he was the one from that time. He looks surprised, asking, "Huh?" He then recalls her being attacked in the forest, saying, "Ah, you got attacked in the forest back then." She replies, "I can't thank you enough for your help." He then refers to her as the 8-year-old passing by. Embarrassed, she asks him not to call her that, explaining she was just in high spirits at the time. Wilvormus introduces himself, and someone reacts with surprise, recognizing his renowned family. Then Tina Daya Elmati, the 3rd princess of the Imperial House of Elmati, formally introduces herself, apologizing for the late introduction before expressing her pleasure in meeting Will. Daya explains that Master Dayan recently gave her the name Daya, mentioning that middle names are rare in the royal family. A map illustrates the kingdom of Valador, adjacent to the kingdom of Ilmati, with a note about past good relations between their emperors. It is clarified that apprentices often take their master's name, linking Adelphus to Adel, Zenobia to Zenon, and Dian to Daya. A young man comments on how wonderful it is to be Master Dayan's apprentice at such a young age, calling it the best education. Daya expresses her happiness at being able to attend this academy through Dian's recommendation, as her chances of succeeding to the throne as the 3rd princess are not high. A young woman in a witch costume greets Tina, then introduces herself as Tina. She then introduces her little sister Sari, and their pets Run and Fur to a boy named Will, who welcomes Sari back. Will's friend is introduced, and Will tells his friend to get along with Tina. The witch Tina then expresses her happiness at making a friend, as she hadn't had any friends on campus yet. Will and Tina happily confirm their friendship, holding hands. Then, someone addresses Tina as Your Highness, noting it's time for something. Tina and Will say their goodbyes, with Will preparing to leave and the man excusing himself. Imperial soldiers arrive with a swoosh, bowing to the red-haired boy, who looks surprised and asks if they are Imperial soldiers. A man with glasses then addresses the boy as Your Highness, confirming his royal status as a blonde-haired youth and a witch-hatted girl witness the scene. A character is recognized with alarm, identified as someone from a past event. Another character asks what's wrong, but is told it's nothing. Meanwhile, a cat-haired girl thinks to herself, "Hummelvormus." In another area, 2 figures excitedly exclaim, "Yay. Anyways, let's play." The story is titled Ikara Hajimaru Kamigami no Shido no Tensei Sekatsu, which translates to Reincarnation Life of the Apostles of the Gods, starting from 8 years old. The story is titled Reincarnation Life of the Apostles of the Gods, starting from 8 years old. This page contains no narrative content. Chapter 6 begins with a large, fluffy white dog looking on as a young girl peeks out shyly from behind a partition, a small round creature with a face perched atop her head. The chapter is titled Reunited with Her. Zenobia, the blonde-haired youth, excitedly hugs Will, calling him master and saying she wanted to see him again. Nearby, a cloaked figure notes that the swords displayed were used by Zenobia 100 years ago. Zenobia cries, embracing Will tightly, while the cloaked figure observes, and she seems convinced that I'm Adelphus. He then adds this is something that Zenobia do and states, "Yes, I'm Zenobia." Zenobia is surprised by a sudden hug, protesting that it's careless. The one embracing her insists it wasn't just a hunch that made them decide it was their master, but then begins to cry. The hugger tries to calm them down, while another character expresses concern that their identities haven't been confirmed. Suddenly, a new figure arrives with a rush, offering to explain the situation. Murdo, a man with glasses and graying hair, greets the boy, calling him master and noting it's been a while. He then reveals that he and 3 other apprentices serve as rotating presidents of their institute. Murdo asks if the boy is surprised, and the boy confirms he can identify Murdo by his magic. Murdo declares that the first reason for their actions is this, and begins to explain how they came to identify him as master. A magic scroll is presented, intended to measure an examinee's magical power as part of an application. Will examines the form, recognizing it as a magic scroll and noting the effort put into it. Someone else recalls measuring themselves when they filled out the application. Later, a group discusses the scroll, which they saw after it was sent by Will's retainers. They explain that initially, they thought a child inheriting their master's qualities had been born, which led them to decide they needed to send someone to pick Will up urgently. Murdo explains that he dispatched his apprentice, Alti, to guard and observe Will. Zenobia remarks that Alti was Will's apprentice, noting how good she is and that those with aptitude are taken on directly by them. Will tells the man with glasses that he would be the best teacher a mage could have, to which the man replies he would have accompanied a child who inherited Will's qualities. The young boy feels overlooked, lamenting that the gods seem to favor his brothers more than him. Murdo, having heard the protagonist only had one guardian deity, checks the logs of a measuring device. He discovers that the protagonist's current child form is a reincarnation of their master and an apostle of God. A regal woman confirms this, remembering she was told the same upon her own reincarnation, and expects the protagonist to behave honorably. The stern man recalls the protagonist's past life, mentioning how he used water balls in a duel and even caused him diarrhea, stating these were decisive reasons. The protagonist, in his current form, replies that he doesn't remember doing such things before he died. Meanwhile, two figures in cloaks explain that these events are how they became convinced he is their master's reincarnation. The younger person asks what they would have done if they hadn't been able to confirm his identity, to which the man with glasses replies that it was enough proof. Later, a young girl reacts with surprise, asking what kind of story it is, and another person agrees they might have made up a story known only from the past. The young elf-like person, flustered, recalls a memory of Zenobia being on the verge of tears when they were 5 years old. Meanwhile, another character asks what the other was doing in heaven, stating they need to exchange information since over 100 years have passed. Murdo, overhearing, questions if someone was on the verge of crying, to which another person confidently replies, "Leave it to me." They then remind Murdo that the person in question only has the knowledge of an 8-tier roll and asks to be told about recent events. A few hours later, the young man observes, "I see the Order of Tenebris." Meanwhile, a woman explains that the Agency of Salvation was created to fight a dark war. A monstrous beast roars that their priority is now to stop the resurrection of the Calamity Beast, questioning the strength of the Order. The young man wonders if even a powerful organization can't handle it, while the beast asks how much strength the Order truly possesses. The young man then states that demons are at the center of it all, and a man with glasses adds that some of the fanatics are human. The young man observes that demons are troublesome, possessing tremendous magic and life force that makes them difficult to defeat. He learns that if human fighting power were equivalent to a dog's, a demon's would be like a lion's, and even transcended human disciples struggle against many demons, though they might prevail in a one-on-one fight. Murdo, adjusting his glasses, questions this information, noting it was not confirmed during the protagonist's previous lifetime. More powerful demons have emerged, and even the 4 apprentices struggle to defeat them. One character expresses disbelief, while another explains that human fanatics are drawn to demonic power and will do anything to become demons. Meanwhile, a character finds reassurance in the fact that someone has been reincarnated, and another is training to defeat the Calamity Beast, noting that its subordinates will also be difficult to handle. Murdo tells the young master that his story about training in the heavenly realm was very interesting. The young master, noting Murdo is nearly 120 years old but looks like he's in his 60s, remarks that he's about the same age as he was before his reincarnation. Murdo acknowledges the passage of a century. As the young master begins to cry, Murdo reassures him, calling him master and stating that his abundant magic and full life are signs he has done well. The young master is told that his recommendation is secured, and it would be best for him to remain a student at the institute while keeping his true identity a secret. His exquisite manipulation of fireballs and water balls, along with defeating 2 opponents with 4 deities each, is considered more than enough proof for the examiner to recommend him. Flames surround the sad-looking frog character wearing a pink hat and shirt. Text appears, directing readers to visit mangabuddy.com for the latest chapter. Flames lick around a sorrowful frog, its face streaked with tears, clad in a red shirt and straw hat. Beside this scene, the words mangabuddy.com, the world of manga, are displayed. An older man, holding a teacup, tells a young boy that he needs to inform Dayan and Regina, who are out of town. He plans to use special rings he developed for contacting them, and will give the boy one afterward. The boy is shown with a glowing device, and the man explains that it can connect to them via a console. The man then becomes tearful, lamenting his weak tear glands, while another person expresses pride in his inventions, such as the measuring device. The man with glasses initiates a communication, asking if his companions can hear him and speak. They confirm they can, though one, a young woman in armor, notes they are busy and asks him to be brief. The other, observing the ruined landscape, remarks that Murdo contacting them means the matter is important. The man then prepares to deliver his message, telling them to calm down before they hear it. A dragon-like beast tells a young woman that the master's reincarnated body has appeared with 2 divine beasts. Meanwhile, a character addresses Dayan and Regina, noting it has been 1 100 years, before another says they will let the master take over the conversation. The first character then remarks that if it is truly them, it has indeed been a while. The young man expresses his happiness at hearing Dion and Regina's voices again, promising to tell them everything that happened next time. The communication ends abruptly, with the young man remarking that he's glad nothing has changed after 100 years. Dion and Regina tease him about always being a crybaby, while Murdo and another companion find their own emotional reactions embarrassing. Alti announces the master's arrival, and someone suggests letting the master take over. Meanwhile, a young woman is asked if she can look after Will, and another character arrives, remarking that it's good timing. One character is told that although she may not like it, as a member of the Agency of Salvation, she should treat Will as her boss and work with him, even though he will be a student. She agrees, and her companion reassures her, expressing belief in her skills and noting there is much to be learned by working with Will. The first character then asks to hear a suggestion, and the other character, looking contemplative, agrees to share it. The elf girl asks if it would be more natural for her to attend the institute as a student. She then suggests it wouldn't be unnatural for her to be an assistant to the president's apprentice, who has already been accepted. An older man with glasses mentions he has already appeared before students as an assistant to help maintain the examination room. The elf girl ponders, and the woman asks for her opinion. The elf girl expresses her gratitude to her mentor, who proudly accepts the role. Meanwhile, another character offers praise for a good idea. The elf girl admits that despite the need for formal speech as camouflage, she finds it difficult to get used to. The horn woman asks if Will is alright with this, and Will readily agrees. Finally, the two characters clasp hands, ready to move forward together. A student wishes to report on the exam's progress, and an official confirms the test went smoothly, with 30 students passing, just like every year. When asked if there were any injuries or accidents, the student hesitates, revealing that Danon and Avon Vormis are severely injured. The girl explained that Danon and Avon were injured in a different accident, separate from the boy's fight, though he wondered if their last duel with him had injured them that badly. His companion then revealed that after they healed from their match, their anger at the boy reignited, and they attempted revenge using poisonous insects as their trump card. However, they couldn't control the insects and ended up being bitten all over. The injured brothers are recovering in the infirmary, their condition stable. One character observes that their deities have decreased, wondering if the gods have forsaken them. He had intended to wait for them to recover before remeasuring their guardian deities, but it's revealed they now have 0 deities, a fact that shocks everyone present. The shocking revelation that Danon and Yvonne have 0 guardian deities is met with disbelief. One man notes that while deity numbers can fluctuate, this is unprecedented. Another adds that humans should at least be favored by a human god. Meanwhile, a young woman admits she doesn't even know what's happening, as others whisper to their master, questioning if such a situation is even possible. One character decides they should ask her directly for answers. The woman, who appears in the realm of the gods, asks the young man if he used another measuring device to come there. She then thanks him for telling her something quickly, but realizes he was spying on her. Blushing, the young man replies that he understands the situation regarding her relative's blessings. As the story pauses, a melancholic frog character appears, set against a backdrop of flames. The page directs readers to mangabuddy.com to continue reading the latest chapter. The young man observes the situation, calling it a coincidence, but the woman blushes and insists it was just that. He reacts with shock, and it's revealed that the disappearance of blessings is because someone took something away. Another character reflects on their own actions, questioning why they are capable of such things. It is then explained that someone touched both their hands and declared them unworthy, with a question posed about whether they were worthy of affection. A divine-looking figure explains that apostles have the authority to be equivalent to divine beasts on earth, urging them to use their powers with care. Meanwhile, another character expresses happiness at seeing someone again, lamenting that they could have explained things better if other gods hadn't intervened. This leads to a statement that an explanation was attempted the last time the person was present, and the listener finally declares they understand about the apostles now. A character expresses a grudge and questions why the stupid brothers had 4 deities when they themselves only had one. Another figure explains that while the gods observe Earth, they are not particularly interested in individuals, calling them irresponsible. Later, a small figure acknowledges this, and a haloed character asks if the worst people on Earth might possess a gift, to which a blushing woman replies that the gods are not all powerful. The young man questions why he shouldn't be there, and a woman replies that while she'll be a bit lonely, he shouldn't come. Another character notes that it seems so and that it's about time. The young man states he wouldn't want that. A woman with a halo warns him that visiting too often pulls his consciousness to their side, making him more likely to die. She then instructs him not to come to the realm of the gods, but promises to find a way to get in touch with him, explaining that this is because he is not a god yet. The man in glasses acknowledges the young man's power, calling him master. The young man reflects that he wishes someone had told him certain things before he was reincarnated. He then tells the blindfolded woman that his experiences have allowed him to practice his training to a surprising degree. The woman comments that the ability to change so much in a single moment suggests the gods and the young man exist on a different plane of existence. Later, after being informed of their plans, the young man chatted with his apprentices and then headed back to the dorms with Saria. The young man sighs, wondering if he can truly take it easy. A few days later, a girl is seen playing with a white cat and a small slime. An older man with glasses informs someone that they can stay at the institute until their acceptance is announced in a week, with the entrance ceremony held the day after. The young man expresses relief that now free of the brothers, he can finally relax a bit. Nearby, a girl laughs, telling him not to go too far before spotting a cat and excitedly calling out to it. A woman dressed as a witch recognizes the young man, exclaiming that he was the one from that time. He recalls that she was attacked in the forest. As he thanks her for her help, she becomes flustered when he refers to her as the 8-year-old passing by, asking him not to and explaining she was just in high spirits then. The witch introduces herself as Tina Dia Ilmati, the third princess of the Imperi, the House of Ilmati, apologizing for the late introduction. The young man reveals his name is Wilvomus and Tina expresses her pleasure in meeting him. Tina explains that the name Dia was given to her by Master Daon, and that middle names are rare in the royal family. A map shows the kingdom of Valador is adjacent to the kingdom of Ilmati, and she recalls being on good terms with the Emperor of Ilmati 100 years ago. It's clarified that Adelphus's disciple is Adel, Zenobia's apprentice is Zenon, and Dion's apprentice is Dia, as apprentices often take their master's name. Tina expresses that it's great to be Master Dion's apprentice at such a young age, calling it the best education one can get. As the third princess, she notes her chances of succeeding to the throne are not high, but she was very happy to come to this academy by Dion's recommendation. Tina greets Sari, and Sari introduces herself, her little sister Sari, and their pets Run and Furfur will welcome Sari back and tells Tina to get along with her, calling Sari his friend. Tina is surprised but agrees and apologizes for calling Sari her friend, explaining she was just happy because she had no friends on campus yet. Will tells Tina he's happy to be friends with her too, and she readily agrees. Suddenly, an attendant calls out to Your Highness, signaling it's time for her to go. Will bids Tina farewell, and she replies before he takes his leave. Imperial soldiers arrive with a rush, bowing deeply. Will, looking back, wonders if they are bowing to him, while another voice identifies them as Imperial soldiers. Suddenly, an attendant calls out, Please wait, Your Highness. Imperial soldiers arrive, and one of them recognizes Wilvomus, exclaiming that he is the person from that time. Meanwhile, another character asks if something is wrong, only to be told it's nothing. Elsewhere, a girl with cat ears ponders Wilvomus's name with a blush, while two smaller figures excitedly decide to play. This page is an advertisement for MangaBuddy.com and does not contain story content. Chapter 7 begins with a confident Will, surrounded by a swirling aura of energy, a blush on his cheeks. A blonde girl with a sword moves with incredible speed, a Fusha company in her motion, while a small child looks up in surprise. Nearby, someone sleeps on a bench. The scene then shifts to a young girl, sword in hand, facing a boy who extends his arm, a swift swoosh and Piku signaling his quick action. In a forest, Will approaches Saria, who stands ready with her sword. Meanwhile, someone sleeps on a bench nearby. Later, Sari is shown sleeping soundly, resting her head on a slime. Suddenly, Sari lets out a sneeze, startling Will. A girl exclaims in surprise. Here Will then commands, Go! Seal rings out as a fierce sword fight erupts. One combatant, struggling to maintain their grip, pleads for their opponent to release their sword. The fight continues with a powerful blow sending one combatant spinning through the air while the other prepares to strike from the ground. Their swords clash and the girl, surprised, questions her opponent. She then admits defeat, saying she gives up, and the boy offers his sword to her. The training session concludes, with one participant noting Alti's skillful movements and another admitting they now understand why their master advised them to regard Alti as their boss. Later, a young girl wakes up with a yawn, greeting the morning. Nearby, another girl asks if she can join in a game, to which someone replies, It's Al. A character asks if another is free after they finish something, who replies they have something to do, much to the surprise of a third. Later, a young girl looks hesitant as a crying girl asks, Let's play. A caption notes that a week has passed quickly, followed by an excited "Way" and a hesitant agreement. A crowd gathers around an announcement board for successful candidates. One person states they already knew the results due to a recommendation. Meanwhile, Will, accompanied by a small girl, is asked by her if her name is on the list. Will thinks he should check the announcement himself to avoid making the other students suspicious. Later, Will is asked who he is, and the person replies, Hello Will, before noting that Danon and Ivan's names are not on the list. Rosetta introduces her little sister Rose. Rose looks on shyly. Saria and Rose embrace, calling each other's names, and someone asks if they already know each other. Rosetta tells Will that he was talking happily about Rose the other day, and the girl with Rose adds that she plays with her at the nursery. Rosetta expresses her gladness that Rose made a friend, and Will thanks Rosetta for taking care of his sister. Will then hesitantly asks something, to which another student replies, That's great. The student then reveals they also passed the entrance exam and will be attending the academy this year. The girl with cat ears asks Will if he was the one spying on them yesterday. Will admits it, explaining he didn't sense any malice from her, so he wasn't alarmed. She apologizes, saying she was curious when she heard he was Sari, his brother from their duel. Will replies that he would have done the same in her shoes, then notes that they both have little sisters. Cat-eared girl and Will shake hands, with Will hoping they can get along as friends and the girl enthusiastically agreeing. However, the girl quickly becomes embarrassed by something Will says, while another observer comments on how close they are acting. Nearby, a dog yawns. The entrance ceremony is held at a grand academy building. Inside, students gather in a hall as an official speaks from a podium. A young girl wearing a large witch's hat looks up in surprise from a book she is holding. The academy's entrance ceremony proceeds with a new student briefing in a classroom. Later, students gather for a get-together, holding drinks and conversing. A sign points towards the cafeteria, Then a question is raised. Demon bear hunting. A character with a wolf's head explains that a demon bear appeared in their village, affecting even the sheep, and they are looking for someone to help. A cat-eared girl, crying, reveals that while her guardian deity makes her skilled at scouting and gathering information, she is not suited for combat. The other person acknowledges this and as a friend offers to join her. The girl happily eats something offered to her, while another character states that for their upcoming subjugation mission, they will need a healer and a close combat fighter. A little later, a cheerful girl in a witch's outfit stands beside an adventurer who appears deep in thought. Alti and Tina are excellent swordsmen and healers, and others have likely met them at gatherings, though one character modestly denies being that talented. With the party now complete, it is described as well-balanced, comprising a swordswoman, mage, healer, and hunter. Later, a character receives permission from MS Zenobia to go out expressing thanks and anticipation. The group is ready to embark on their mission. The cat-eared girl cheers, "Let's go," and the witch hat girl exclaims, "Time to exterminate the demon bears." Below them, sounds of howling and barking indicate the presence of the demon bears they are hunting. A wolf-headed creature howls in pain after being struck. The hooded figure, wielding a staff topped with a skull, unleashes a powerful blow with a clash. The impact booms as the figure's glowing eye glares. This marks the beginning of Volume 2 of Reincarnated as an 8-tier World Apostle of the Gods.